Good evening. I'll call the meeting to order at this time. If you will, please rise for the invocation and remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance. At this time, I will call on Dr. David Barber. If he will, please lead us in the invocation.
Let's pray. Lord, I thank you so much for the opportunity that we have that we can come and we can do the business of the town of Smithfield. I pray, Lord, that everything we do and say be done in such a way that it be uplifting, not just to you, Lord, but to all the citizens in our town. I pray, Lord, you help us when we disagree to disagree agreeably. Lord, I pray that whatever we do would be done in such a way that everyone benefits in the long run. For it's in the mighty name of Jesus we pray. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, gentlemen, you have the agenda. I do not have any known changes to my knowledge. Anyone else wishing any changes to the agenda?
Mayor, I have a couple of changes I'd like to request.
Sure.
The first change I'd like to ask is consent item number 9, starts on page 191. If we could move that to business item would be 6. I have a couple questions about that. And I also would like to add business item number 7, update, if we could get an update on the employee pay study. Business item number 7.
Okay. Okay, anything else? Okay, not hearing none. Do I have a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved, Mr. Mayor.
Second.
Session and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, gentlemen. All right, we will now move on to our first presentation, which is administering the oath of office to some newly promoted police officers, Lieutenant Chris Blinson and Lieutenant David Tyndall. So if you gentlemen will please come forward, we'll just do it right here in the front. And anybody else that would like to come with you, please come forward at this time. Okay, we're going to mix it up a little bit. I'm going to do two at one time tonight. So, but I think that's outstanding that we have 2 promotions. So, congratulations. Before I start, congratulations to both of you gentlemen for all that you do for the town of Smithfield. We really appreciate it. We appreciate your dedication to the town of Smithfield, and we all know that it's not an easy job, and I wouldn't want your job. And many of you have heard me say that when I was younger, I used to ride around South Smithfield acting as if I was a police officer or a fireman. And let me tell you, as I got older, I found out very quickly that's not the job that I wanted to do. But I'm so glad that there are gentlemen, and ladies and gentlemen like yourselves that are willing to do it. So if you will, please place your hand on the Bible, raise your hands, and repeat after me. We'll do this together. And then just state your name.
David Tyndall.
Okay. Do solemnly swear.
Solemnly swear.
Or affirm. That I will support the Constitution.
That I will support the Constitution
Of the United States.
of the United States.
That I will faithfully.
That I will faithfully
And bear true allegiance.
bear true allegiance
To the state of North Carolina.
to the state of North Carolina.
And to the constitutional powers.
To the constitutional powers
And authorities.
and authorities
Which are.
which are
Or may be established.
or may be established
For the government thereof.
for the government thereof.
That I will endeavor.
That I will endeavor
To support.
to support,
Maintain.
maintain,
And defend.
and defend
The Constitution of said state.
the Constitution of said state.
Not inconsistent with.
Not inconsistent with
the Constitution of the United States,
the Constitution of the United States,
that I will be alert
that I will be alert
and vigilant
and vigilant
to enforce
to enforce
the criminal laws of this state,
criminal laws of this state,
that I will not be influenced
that I will not be influenced
in any manner
in any manner
on account of personal bias
on account of personal bias
or prejudice,
or prejudice,
and that I will faithfully
that I will faithfully
and impartially
and impartially
execute the duties of my office
execute the duties of my office
as police lieutenant
as police lieutenant
according to the best of my skill,
according to the best of my skill,
abilities,
abilities,
and judgment.
and judgment.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Congratulations, gentlemen.
Thank you, sir.
Congratulations.
Thank
Congratulations.
you, sir.
Congratulations. Thank you, sir.
Keep that handy, too. So we'll move on to our next presentation, and at this time, I'd like to call on Lee Worsley from Central Pines Regional Council of Government. I sit on that board, and just want to give a little plug out to what they do as an organization, and in particular what Lee does for the region. It's a very valuable organization to the municipalities and to county governments across the state. And I think we have one of the strongest ones in the nation. And that is because of this gentleman that you see right here before us this evening that is going to present to us on the Johnston County Water Sewer Authority. Lee, welcome. Thank you for taking the time. Thank you for what you're doing to work together. Councilman Scott and Councilman Stevens, they both serve, as you well know, as representatives on that board. I want to thank them personally for what they do as well, because it's such a very important issue for the citizens, not only of Smithfield, but all of Johnston County. And we're no different than many municipalities all over the world, right? We're struggling with how we will, in the future, provide those services to an ever-growing population. So again, with Lee, thank you, and it's time I'll turn it over to you, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of the board, Mr. Scott and others. Thank you for inviting me tonight. It's great to be here in Johnston County in Smithfield. I was actually in Kenly last night doing the same presentation, and had a great conversation with the board in Kenly. And as the mayor said, I've been honored to be the director of Central Pines Regional Council now for 9 years. I'm a former manager and appreciate what Michael does every day to manage this great town. And I'm a native of the Triangle region, grew up in Raleigh, so it's really important to me what we're talking about tonight. Central Pines is your regional council. We serve 47 local governments. Johnston County, Wake County, Durham, Orange, Chatham, Lee, and Moore counties. We are a local government by state statute, and our role is to serve the 47 local governments the best we can to help encourage collaboration and to talk about issues like water and sewer, like transportation, like a lot of other things that don't like to stop at jurisdictional boundaries, but are really important to the safety, to the public health, to the growth of communities. So I think it's really telling that you just did a couple promotions for police officers, public safety. Water and sewer are two of the most important functions of a municipality. So let's talk a little bit about water sewer this evening. I've got a presentation that I'll give to you, and this presentation is being given to every local government in Johnston County. I think it's really great and telling, and thank you for allowing the group to meet here. They've been meeting monthly to talk about what the future of water and sewer services may look like in Johnston County. And I want to stress that no commitments have been made, no final decisions have been made. This is really talking about the future and how the communities in Johnston County can continue to work together. We've been honored to be asked to facilitate the group. We're not here to push an agenda or to really steer you in one direction or the other. This is really a conversation of decisions that need to be made by the local governments in Johnston County. Our role is to keep you on track, to help with the logistics, to help the facilitation. We're happy to do that. So, a little bit about what I'm going to talk about tonight. I'm not going to try to go into a lot of detail. You have the PowerPoint. I'm going to try to hit the high points. There's a lot of information here. I'm happy to answer any questions. I'm sure the two council members that have served so ably can answer the questions probably better than I can. But really talking about why now, the importance of collaboration, what the group's been doing, and then what the potential next steps are. So why are the local governments in Johnston County talking about the future of water and sewer? It's not a new discussion, so I don't want anybody to feel like that this topic is just all of a sudden popped up, right? This is a conversation that has gone on as long as Smithfield has been a town, right? How are you going to provide water and sewer, safe water, clean water, adequate water to your citizens? I think, though, the conversation has been brought to a different place because you, along with the other local governments in Johnston County, know what you're facing and what you've been facing, right? A lot of growth, more growth coming, a lot of changes to the local governments, not just Smithfield, but Micro and Kenly and the county. Fifth fastest growing county in North Carolina. You have a couple of large transportation projects that are about to be finished, right? And you know what the impact of that growth is going to be as you continue on. So the natural questions are, how are we going to make sure that we can continue to provide safe, reliable, adequate drinking water and sewer service, not only to Smithfield, but your counterparts are asking the same question. Also, the state and federal government, where you rely on not only regulatory approvals, but also funding. They have been talking more and more about the need to work together as local governments. A lot of the funding is being tied to regionalization. A lot of the regulations are being, one of the ways that they can be accomplished is through working together. And so there's just several things coming at you at once. So the importance of collaboration, I hope none of this comes as a surprise, but you know, when you collaborate, whether it's water or sewer or anything, you get to share ideas and expertise among folks. You get to share risk and liability. You get to take advantage of economies of scale. Other things that the group's talked about is the potential around sharing equipment, maybe sharing staff, joint opportunities to work together on construction and maintenance, obviously sharing and thinking about the source of water. So those are all things about why collaboration is important. And it's not, like I said, it's not something that you haven't already been doing. These are some examples of where you all work well together already. And it's not just water and sewer, right? You work with the other local governments in a lot of different ways. But here are a few examples across the county on how you're working together. So it's just a natural progression, like I said, and a natural extension to the conversation. But I think the folks that have been coming together realize that with the challenges and the opportunities that you have before you, that there may be opportunities for more collaboration. A lot of the communities have expressed interest in the possibility of regionalization with the pressing needs around infrastructure and the rising costs. Although Collaboration exists. Several of the communities have expressed an interest in forming a more robust, more formalized interlocal agreement or interlocal organization to allow for even more collaboration. And it can lay the foundation for more cooperation into the future. So when I say the word regionalization, it probably will mean different things to different people. And so as we talk about regionalization, I again want to stress that no decisions have been made. The end product of this conversation could be more interlocal agreements between the local governments to cooperate more around a few distinct areas. The conversation also could be, I guess, at the other end of the spectrum, the formation of a self-contained water and sewer authority that all the local governments participate in, or perhaps a subset of all the local governments in Johnston County participate in. So that is what is being discussed around the table. You know, where do we go? What are the pros and cons? So just a couple of examples of what maybe collaboration versus a combined entity would look like. So intergovernmental cooperation means that maybe you use operating agreements, wholesale contracts, to work more closely together, right? You don't lose per se control, right? Operational control, governance control. But you do take on more risk, take on more liability, take on more costs perhaps, depending on what you're facing. Whereas with a self-contained authority, all the systems are under one legal entity. You have a separate governing board. You shift that liability to that organization. But with that, depending on how an agreement would look, you would probably lose some control. You would lose some direct authority. And so the trade-offs, right, are really important to talk about and to be fully aware as you continue to move through these conversations. So the 3-year goal, right, on any big idea, big issue, you've got to set a goal to know what you're working toward. It doesn't mean you're going to do it. It just means this is where we're working toward. This is what we're going to be talking about, and we'll see what we end up with at the end. But the goal is to examine, to see what it would take to form a countywide self-contained water and sewer authority. And by that, that is a separate legal entity that would have a separate governing board that would own and operate water and sewer for the customers that that authority covers. And again, I want to remind this board and anybody listening that nobody can make that decision other than you about whether Smithfield's going to do that. Well, maybe one entity, the state could, the General Assembly. But other than that, you all are the decision makers. So the county can't make you do it. The other communities can't make you do it. It is truly this board's prerogative on what you feel like is the best steps for Smithfield. So you're not committing, we're not asking you to commit, the group's not asking you to commit to a water sewer authority. Really what we're coming to right now is just an update and making sure that you all still want to be at the table talking about how to collaborate into the future. So as the group moves forward, the group has indicated that they believe that they want to move forward with the conversations. And in order to keep the group on track, there's been a timeline that's been established. I would say probably a pretty aggressive timeline to, you know, what needs to happen if a water and sewer authority were to be formed. So this is just a very, very high level way of showing what the timeline would look like. So right now you have a group of very dedicated elected officials that are meeting together, and it's remarkable to see every local government in Johnston County at the table. So you have all those folks coming together. The idea is to continue that group and to call that group the policy committee. Obviously, the elected officials at the table need to make the policy decisions, need to give the direction, need to say whether something is worth studying or not, continuing to keep that group together, hoping to have representation from every local government in Johnson County. Now's the time to also bring in the technical experts. So the folks like your manager or your utility director or an engineer for some of the communities, that as these issues are being discussed, that you have the experts at the table that can say, well, this is what it would take for Smithfield to be able to do this. This is what it would cost. Here's the number of linear feet of this that we have, all those questions, right? You need to have those technical experts at the table. So the contemplation would be, the next step would be to form that technical advisory group that would, again, hopefully encompass every local government from Johnson County that's interested in continuing to talk about it. Finally, there have been a few local governments that have said, listen, we're all for collaboration. We want to continue with this conversation, but we've got needs now. We've got to start working with some of our local governments today. We need an ILA today. And so those local governments have expressed an interest in actually developing an ILA, an interlocal agreement amongst themselves that could solidify some next steps in collaboration and possibly be a model for the larger group, right? To work out some of the details, to see where things might work, where maybe they don't work. And we'll talk more about that in later slides. But there's a lot of work to be done to basically create a brand-new local government that would do water and sewer. So stakeholder engagement, organizational structure, organizational assessment, financing questions, interlocal drafting, all that would start occurring in the first year. Years 2 and 3 is that continuation where the interlocal agreement would be adopted for folks that want to start working together now. Continuing to look at the organization assessments, what are the rates going to look like for a group? What are the possibilities? How would you do the self-contained authority formation? What's the governance going to be of that authority? How are you going to handle land use decisions? That's a huge issue that the group is very, very cognizant of, right? So what happens when a development comes? How do you handle that? How is water and sewer allocated capacity, right? How do you deal with that? How do you handle annexation? All those questions still need to be answered, okay? But they're very critical to this. And then June of 2027, if everything stays on track, that's when we'll be ready to make final decisions. So still some time off. So here's a little bit of a organizational flow chart about how the next few years could work. Obviously, the town boards and the county commissioners, right, for their individual jurisdictions are the ultimate decision makers. You've asked for some representatives to be part of a steering committee or a policy committee. That's where Councilman Scott, Councilman Stevens would fit in on that policy committee to give the whole group that direction. The technical advisory committee would be formed. Those would be those technical experts. You would also form the near-term interlocal agreement committee, so there'd be 3 groups sort of working in concert on moving forward. And then if a water sewer authority is formed, the committees would sort of go away and the authority board would be officially established. And then, of course, they would determine what subcommittees they would have reporting to them. And of course, at this point, the contemplation is that you would have water, sewer, and business operations as sort of the major business units under the authority. So here are the recommendations that the group agreed on as sort of how we would move forward. The towns of Kenly, Micro, Princeton, Pine Level, and the county all want to be part of a near-term interlocal group that would be working together on trying to formalize some collaboration within the next 6 months. So we would be working with them separately to develop interlocals. They're the ones that have said, we've got pressing needs today that have got to be addressed. We'll continue to talk about long-term, but we got to start doing some stuff now. Continuing the existing collaboration efforts, the group agreed that whatever's happening now needs to continue to happen. The group said that all the local governments in Johnston County need to continue the policy committee and form those other committees, the technical advisory committee, to begin working on the possibility of a self-contained authority. And they all agreed, again, that the ultimate goal, whatever happens, the ultimate goal is for providing safe and clean drinking water to all citizens in Johnston County. That really is what this is all about. And only through that will you continue to be able to take advantage of all the wonderful economic development and growth opportunities that are presented to the county. So immediate next steps, basically what's planned right now is coming to each of the boards to reaffirm the commitment to exploring collaboration. We would be working with the group on establishing the Policy Technical Advisory Committee and also working on that that near-term ILA group. And then obviously beginning to develop stakeholder engagement plans, because doing stuff like we're doing tonight, talking to community groups, talking to citizens is going to be really important to be transparent and to let folks know what's going on. So with that, I'll be happy to try to answer questions. If I don't have an answer, I'll do my best to get you an answer. But thank you for the time, Mr. Mayor.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Lee. Any questions for Lee at this time? Any additional comments or anything?
Mayor, I have a few comments. Lee, I'd like to thank you for coming out tonight and making the presentation. And Mayor, as you requested, I asked myself and Councilman Stevens to serve on the steering committee. I think it's important to say that, this committee has been very active, but it's trying to organize thoughts. And reality is every community has different needs and wants. And Smithfield, I'm very proud to say that looking at the data that's been presented, there has been a Black and Veatch review, and it ultimately, we are in a very good spot. Smithfield has always been a good neighbor, and we are still in the water business, and we should remain in the water business. But back in 1979, this same topic come up, and there was a sewer contract with regionalization that we've talked about, and that was recently updated. But I say that to say that I just want the citizens to know that from my view, it is extremely important that we make sure that Smithfield gets a fair deal. And in the past, I don't think there was a lot of things that transpired that we were in the water and sewer business, and the current sewer plant has been upgraded tremendously, and the county has done a great job with that. But there is capacity restrictions, and there's new plants that they're bringing online. And there's one thing that sticks out to me that is important to say right now. We have a lot, our residents have to have clean water and be able to flush and wastewater. And we have control somewhat of those costs. And when we have growth, it's important that we keep the end user or the people paying their bill in mind, that we don't allow these great big expansions that don't come with buy-in, so to speak, or capacity fees as we know them. And I just want the people to understand that it is one of my primary goals is to make sure we keep that end user cost as reasonable as possible. And those new developers, at the end of the day, the enterprise fund has to be balanced. And if we spend a relatively large amount of money on new infrastructure, whether it's adding taps, so to speak, then in fact, that's not fair to the end user that's current customers, if that makes any sense. But Lee, thank you. I put quite a bit of research in this as well, and we've talked about that. And if any of the citizens are interested, I'll be glad to share that with them. But this has not just started this week, and Smithfield is in a very good place with our clean water. Now, wastewater, we don't have as much control over that, but by being at the table, having a seat at the table, it's important that we stay focused on how we can best manage this. So, but more to come.
Yep, definitely. Thank you. Councilman Stevens?
Just real quick, kind of piggyback a little bit on what Councilman Scott said. This is extremely important that we be at the table. Is Smithfield, is this the best benefit for Smithfield today? I'm not sold on it right now. My concerns I've stated all along at all the meetings that I was able to attend. If it doesn't save the town of Smithfield money now and in the long term, then, in forms of rates to our citizens, then, it's going to be a hard sell for me. But I'd also like to ask if we can post that website for the, around all the meetings with all the information. If we can get Brian to post that on our Facebook, put on our,
Sure.
because there's a whole lot of useful information that the citizens now need to start getting involved. We're 2-3 years down the road before making some big decisions.
Yep.
And could that change? And we look at our needs 10, 15, 20 years out, that might change those thoughts. But, as long as we're saving money and helping out where we can. I mean, we're in the catbird seat as far as water goes. I mean, we can sell a bunch of water as long as everybody flushes in Wake County. And so we're in a good spot, but these are long-term decisions that need to be thought out and talked about a bunch. So.
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, the council member mentioned the website. We have a website on our regional council page that we've supplied for the members, and we'll be more than happy to give you the address. But it's got agendas for every meeting. It's got lots of interesting information about what other communities have done around water and sewer. It's got the presentation. Every single thing that we've given to folks or researched is one-stop shop on that website. So it's an interesting place for information just about water and sewer generally and what's going on in the state. So we'll make sure Michael gets the link.
Okay, all right, thank you, Lee. Any other questions, comments? So I just want to say thank you again, and to the committee members that serve on this board, thanks again. Like I said, Councilman Scott said, we've been at the table for probably about a year now, working on this. You haven't been that whole time, but the committee itself has. So again, thank you for the presentation. Very good.
Anytime, Mayor.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Y'all have a great evening.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, I have a time-sensitive issue I need to deal with this evening, so I am going to have to be excused approximately between 8:15 and 8:30.
Okay. All right, 8:15, 8:30. Probably need to have a motion, if it pleases the council, to excuse Councilman Dunn at his pleasure sometime around the time of 8:15 to 8:30. Do I have a motion for that?
I make a motion that we do that. Second.
Motion and a second to excuse Councilman Dunn around that time for a personal matter. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion carries. Thank you, gentlemen. All right, we'll move on now to our next topic. First and foremost, before we get started on this public hearing, I do see former council member Perry Harris at the back of the room there. So welcome to former Smithfield Councilman Perry Harris. So welcome this evening, sir. We'll move forward now to our first public hearing, which is Unified Development Ordinance Amendment, multifamily in the B3 amendment, ZA-24-02. The planning staff are requesting an amendment to the Unified Development Ordinance, Article 6, Section 6.6, Table of Uses and Activities, to remove the multifamily land use from the B3 zoning district. This time, I will entertain a motion to open the public hearing.
So moved, Mr. Mayor.
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Stephen, I'll turn it over to you, sir.
Mr.
I'll turn it
Mayor,
over to you, sir.
if I could make a few comments now that the
Absolutely.
public hearing's open. I want to provide a little bit of background information. First, I'd like to apologize to any planning board members that are here. I had full intention of attending the last planning board, answering some of the questions that came up. I had a death in my family a few days before that was not anticipated. Had to travel back to Iowa, and I was managing that at the same time y'all were meeting on this issue. So to be clear, the ask is for the council to review the possibility of amending the UDO text to remove multifamily developments within the B3 zoning district within Smithfield's jurisdiction. The staff made this request at my direction, and as I believe it is imperative to discuss it now, and that the discussion is in this type of a setting, in a public forum where everybody can participate. The council should consider a point of order under 4.6.4.1 of the UDO. The council should consider this request being on the agenda as staff's request for the council to hear this text amendment request after more than 30 days have lapsed since the planning board first heard this matter. So, Madam Clerk, I'd like that in the minutes, please. This issue first came to my attention. We first started talking about this in April. At that time, Stephen had received the Economic Development Strategic Plan from Electricities that they had been working through. We started discussing that issue and started identifying some of the issues that were coming through Smithfield and how to best manage its growth. In that Economic Development Strategic Plan, the first goal that was mentioned even back in April was grow jobs for Smithfield through attraction, business expansion, small business development, and startup support. In July, I believe it was on the 9th, the Electricities came and they provided the same presentation to the council. During that presentation, they also added that it was clear that Smithfield needed land to devote to new and expanding businesses, and Smithfield needed to prioritize this need for economic development as well as the need for residential growth. As a reminder, for those of you who are not aware that may not be here just for this issue, the B3 zoning district is the primary business district in Smithfield, outside of the downtown and downtown supporting business districts. Something else I heard when I reviewed the planning board minutes was concern about advertising the public hearing, which is my responsibility to make sure that is done properly. I heard concerns about the manner in which staff advertised the text amendment. I want to be clear that in the last 5 years, the planning board and the town council, we've heard 32 UDO text amendments. Every one was advertised the same way, same as this one. We followed the statute, and we've never had any issue with it. 6 times this notice has appeared in the Johnstonian News. Twice it's been in front of the planning board. It's been sent as part of the agenda twice to the Sunshine List, and has appeared twice on the town's website as part of the council's agenda. So we've done what we need to do to get the word out about this meeting tonight. 160D 602 explains the mailed notice requirements for zoning ordinances. According to David Owens of the School of Government, mailed notices are not required for text amendments. It's very clear. Now, I've heard in the planning board minutes that, well, we could have done it anyway. We should go the extra step. When we start coloring outside the lines on what is legal and what is not legal, that's when we end up in a libelous situation. Okay, so we do it for this one, why don't we do it for the next one? But we need to stay with the statute, we need to follow the code, and that's what we have done here. I want to make it also clear that staff is not attempting to exclude multifamily from being built within the town of Smithfield, nor is that our recommendation. Rezonings occur regularly, and properties can be rezoned to another designation for multifamily should it be taken out of the B3. Smithfield's made it easier to build multifamily within the B3 zoning district than have our neighboring communities. This is likely one reason why we're seeing an influx in these developments in Smithfield. By eliminating multifamily within the B3, the town council is able to assert more control and vision for Smithfield's future. This is really what is hard and what everybody up here is elected to do, except for myself, Bob, Shannon. So with that, I'll turn it over to Stephen. I've tried to answer some questions before they come up, and I'll let him proceed with the actual rezoning request,
Thank you, Mike.
text amendment.
Should I proceed?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So much of this has already been covered by Mike, but multifamily is currently a special use with supplementary standards in most residential and commercial zoning districts, including the B3 zoning district. As an alternative to a special use permit, a developer can request a conditional rezoning such as a B3CZ. The B3 zoning district is the most expansive zoning district, as alluded to by the manager. It's our largest district with the most permitted uses. Many are intensive, such as car dealers, contractor yards, warehousing, and more, and not always appropriate adjacent to multifamily residential. It's just a fact. This ordinance amendment would remove multifamily as a use in the B3. If a developer wished to pursue such a use, rezoning to a different zoning district would be required. And I'll get into that further. There are other districts to which you could achieve that, and as suggested by the manager, rezonings would be potentially appropriate. This ordinance will give the town council more control, as previously discussed. Adoption of this ordinance will make some existing multifamily residentials legal nonconforming. And just, I got an overview of what some other towns are doing related to multifamily residential. Some towns don't allow it at all in the business districts. Some have what we have, a special use permit. It's really a lot of variation on how it's handled. I'm not going to go through this whole slide. I do want to point out the areas in red on this map are all B3. We have a lot of B3 zoning, and a lot of it was inherited when the town expanded into the county through its ETJ. At that time, the county had basically zoned everything along a highway as B3. So, not all of that is appropriate for business, not all of that is appropriate for housing. And so this ordinance will help the town kind of control which of those B3, are more appropriate for housing. And how we do that is we look at the comprehensive plan map. The comprehensive plan map guides property for different uses. So in some cases, we got business property that is guided for multifamily, and that would give the council, support for a rezoning to a multifamily use. In other cases, it's not. And the council would have to give a hard think about rezoning to a multifamily because it's not supported in the comprehensive plan. So again, there are other districts that support multifamily. You could rezone to an R8 district and do a special use permit, or do a conditional R8 rezoning and achieve the same ends. Again, there's a lot of area here guided in that gold color, which is medium-density residential. So if you've got a B3 property that is guided for medium-density residential, there's a very good chance that that's a lot of weight towards a positive rezoning. Of course, it always is somewhat dependent on the type of project, the quality of the project, and adjacent land uses and all the other factors that are considered, but that is the purpose of the land use plan. This is just a map of currently approved and proposed multifamily developments. Right now, I've got 5, one more arrived at my desk today. So we're having a huge influx of multifamily developments right at this moment. So that is why we're hearing this tonight, because this is the time to take control. Again, it's a lot of units, a lot of density. The town, it's a different type of development than town is used to, and we have to do it right. So the essence of this ordinance is really a simple change on the zoning table of uses and activities, table 6.6. Under B3, the special use permit with supplementary standards gets struck out, and multifamily is no longer allowed in that district. So again, if you have a property that's Zone B3, guided for multifamily, there's a good chance a rezoning would be supported to another district that supports multifamily. Again, it's always somewhat context dependent and project dependent, but we're not excluding multifamily from the town. Staff finds this amendment consistent with the town's comprehensive growth plan and other adopted plans, and that the amendment is reasonable in the public interest. The planning board recommended the council delay final action until the planning board can present its recommendations. Town council should consider the approval of the zoning text amendment, ZA 2402, amending Article 10, Section 6.6, with a statement declaring the request consistent with the town's comprehensive growth management plan, and that's reasonable in the public interest. And I've got a recommended motion. Any questions?
Thank you, Stephen. Any questions for staff at this time? Okay. Good job, sir. Thank you. All right. This time, I will ask for any comments in the audience. I will ask that you keep your comments brief. If there are people that want to speak on the same topic and basically the same subject, that maybe you elect one person to come speak. We do have other items on the agenda tonight. I'd ask that you keep your comments to 3 to 4 minutes if possible. Not going to hold you to it, but we do have a meeting that we need to get through, and we have developers sitting in this room from all over the state. And so we need to be mindful of their time. So I would ask that you please try to keep your comments as brief as possible, knowing that we have a pretty packed agenda tonight. So at this time, I'll ask if there's anyone in the audience wishing to speak on this matter, if you'll please come forward and state your name and address for the record, please.
I'm Michael McLam. I live at 100 Mariah Drive in 4 Oaks, North Carolina. And I guess mine's more of a question than anything. So in light of this text amendment, if it passes, Steve, if you could please tell us the difference between a quasi-judicial hearing and a legislative decision, if
Sure.
this thing passes, and where they apply and where they don't.
So a special use permit, like in the chart, multifamily is a special use with supplementary standards. So that's the use is allowed with a permit, a special use permit. You have to follow all the UDO regulations related to that use. In this case, it's multifamily. And you also need to address the supplementary standards, which are tailored just to that use. For approval, the approval is tied to 7 finding of fact. So the developer or the council would have to find agreement of all 7 in order to approve it. It's a quasi-judicial hearing, meaning there cannot be any conversation between developer and the council or the council and staff regarding the development, because it's really treated like a court. Other thing about a special use permit, let's say you get approval for a multifamily, and you do nothing with your project for 6 months, your approval expires. So it's different than a conditional zoning. A conditional zoning, if you're going to rezone, conditional zoning is a flexible zoning district. So you basically start out with the base zoning district rules, which it's a B3CZ in this case. You would look at the B3 standards, and those standards which can't be met is a negotiation between the council, the town, and the developer to figure out, we can't meet this regulation because, will you forgive that regulation? Instead, I'll give you more landscaping. I will give you enhanced lighting or something else that meets the town's needs to address issues, and it's a give and take for the regulations. And it's tied into with a site plan, just like a special use permit. What's on the plan is what gets approved, including all the setbacks, landscaping, the whole works. And that approval, there's a vested rights of 2 years. Let's say you do nothing for 2 years. At that point, the town could rezone it to something else. But otherwise, if someone else were to pick up the project and it was still on the map, it would have to be built to that exact approval. So if you were going to build that multifamily project, the other person would have to build that multifamily project or else have to rezone it to something else. Does that explain it?
I think so.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mike. Anyone else wishing to speak?
Good evening, Council. Mr. Mayor, my name is Mark Lane. I'm a resident of the ETJ area of Smithfield. Come before you tonight as also the chairman of the planning board. First of all, Mr. Scott, I'm the one that relayed the question about the mailings. And when the question was presented to me to be asked, I don't think the person realized it was a text amendment. I think it was a zoning change, and I apologize for that. I fully understand. Probably should have looked at it a little closer, but for that, I apologize. We've had 2 planning board meetings on this, and every board meeting we've had, the only thing that's been discussed with us is multifamily to be taken out of B3. We come here tonight and we find out that that's not really what y'all meant to happen. So my question is, why was it not presented to the planning board as there's a possibility that multifamily could still stay in B3? The only thing that has been told to us is multifamily needs to come out of B3. That would have saved a lot of time and a lot of headache if we had just known exactly what was meant. The application, and Mr. Scott read it, it said multifamily to be taken out of B3. So,
May I respond?
Sure, absolutely.
I just want to make clear, we are taking out a B3, but those properties that are zoned B3 can rezone to a different district. So we are actually getting rid of multifamily in the B3.
what wasn't this told us? We
He's
didn't-
saying,
we
I think
haven't
what
been
he's
told
saying
any-
is that was not
I-
stated
We
at
haven't
the
been told,
planning board meeting.
we haven't been told anything about conditional zoning. Tonight is the first time I've heard about it.
Well,
And we've got more planning board members here. I might be mistaken, but
I'm pretty
it would have
confident.
been, really helpful if we'd have known.
Yep. Thank you, sir.
All right,
Appreciate it.
thanks.
Anyone else wishing to speak on the matter, please come forward. Sure, absolutely. Go ahead.
Hi, my name is Oleta Boone. So dear esteemed Mayor and council members, my name is Oleta Boone, and I'm the current president of the Johnson County Association of Realtors. I'm here to express my opposition to the proposed multifamily B3 amendment to the UDO. As you know, we're currently experiencing a housing crisis characterized by the growing gap between high-end and low-end housing options, which leaves the middle-income families with fewer choices. These families represent the crucial missing middle segment to our housing market, as you all know. There are teachers, our nurses, our police officers, and other essential workers. As a representative of the realtor community, I advocate for easing zoning restrictions to allow for more diverse housing types. However, it is imperative that changes to zoning regulations are made responsibly. And as I understand it, the proposed B3 amendment is going to exclude multifamily land use from the B3 zone district. I think this will exacerbate the current constraints on our housing affordability. This amendment essentially imposes a barrier to entry for our low and middle income families, making it more difficult for them to find affordable housing options. In conclusion, I urge you to reconsider this amendment to avoid further limiting the housing options available to our essential workers and missing income, and the middle income families. It is crucial that we adopt policies to promote inclusive and affordable housing options to all members of our community. Thank you for your time and attention to this matter.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to speak, please come forward.
Good evening, council members, staff, and guests. Debbie Howard, 221 West Woodlawn Drive, Smithfield, North Carolina. I'm actually on the planning board for Smithfield as well. I am here tonight not only as a planning board member, but also as a citizen of Smithfield to request that the agenda item at tonight's meeting concerning the B3 change please be delayed for final action until such time as the planning board can present its recommendations. Some of the reasons for my request of delaying action are I am getting numerous calls from concerned citizens, as well as I would like more input from the Johnston County Board of Realtors Housing Needs Study. And the fact that, to my knowledge, no one with property zoned in a B3 has been formally notified about this possible action. I truly feel that anyone with an interest in this matter should be given the opportunity to consider this, or at the very least know in advance that a possible change is being considered that can affect their property. And Mr. Town Manager, Mr. Mayor, and this question would be for the town manager, I think he referenced in his opening statement about statute 160D-602. But that's actually a statute referring to map amendment, not text amendment. So would it apply here as well?
According to David Owens at the School of Government, and I have a blog that's about a year old from him, explaining that map amendments do require that mailing, as you see, but text amendments do not. So it applies in such a way that it identifies what you need to do for map amendments and what you need to do for individual mailings. And text amendments, as you notice, is not in there.
Okay. You're more schooled on that than I am. But I have had the opportunity to look at statute 160D-602, and I was told that that whole statute was about map amendment, which it's my understanding you're not doing here tonight. You're doing text amendment, correct?
That is correct.
Correct.
That is correct.
So I just actually had two questions. Number one, I've just asked the question, is it a text or a map amendment? And you've explained that it is a text amendment. But number two, I don't understand what the urgency is of it being done, because quite frankly, the planning board, and I haven't missed a meeting, so hasn't been considering this, but I want to say 45 or 47 days. So that was the first we had heard of it in not the past meeting, but meeting before. And I do understand that you have the right to kind of go around us if we do not do any action within 30 days. I understand that's in the statute as well. But my question would be, please let us know why we need to do this so quickly and why we cannot come together and try and figure out something that would be informative to all the owners of B3, not just Smithfield citizens, but B3 owners. And just see if we can work together for the betterment of town of Smithfield as well as our citizens. Okay? Thank you very much.
Thank you, Debbie. Anyone else wishing to speak on this matter, please come forward.
Catherine Went, Johnston County Board of Realtors. Thank you for having us today. Just want to share a little bit more information about the housing study we are currently conducting. We have taken on the full financial burden of contracting with the nationally renowned statistic agency, Bowen National Research, to study the housing needs of Johnston County. We hope to have that data at the end of the month that will specifically show the types of housing that are needed in our community. We look forward to sharing that data with you, but we do ask that you delay this amendment change until we have that data that shows what is really needed. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to speak on this matter, please come forward at this time.
My name is Paul Embler. I live at 11 Kentwood Drive, Smithfield. Kind of a history lesson. I came to Smithfield back in 1976, and was here for, just as coincidental to the presentation earlier, my job was made available by the 201 Facilities Command study, which was a regionalization of sewer for Kenly, Pine Level, Smithfield, Selma, and Princeton. So that has been a long time coming, and it needs to be given consideration by the town. As far as history is concerned, in this very boardroom, I sat here for 14 years and heard presentations, and one that struck me, and my memory is pretty intact about it, is that, and it was made by the police department, the fire department, and at that time EMS, because we were still in the EMS business at that time. We're a town of 13,000 people, basically. Our fire, police, and EMS respond as if we're a town of 50,000 people. So what does that tell you? The taxpayers are supporting the needs of 50,000 people for 13. And one of the things that was a concern coming out of that, we had plenty of business. We had more business at that time than Clayton did. Clayton is just now coming into the commercial business mode. Other towns are also. But what was important about that, the town council at that time, and I don't think any of you were sitting on the board at that time, made a decision to try to incentivize bringing residential development to Smithfield, specifically through an incentive program to underwrite the development cost of lots, townhomes, and multifamily housing. Strangely enough, we got no takers. It's in that program, when installed, and it was patterned after the town of Farmville. Bob, you may remember it because you reviewed the plan. Pete Connick was the one that brought it in. And it was a legal plan that we could incentivize residential development just like we support commercial development and also for industrial. And the plan was in progress for in place for a number of years with no takers on it. I think that had a lot to do with the economy. During my 14 years of planning director, we had no residential subdivisions, single-family residential subdivisions built within the town. We did have one duplex development that was converted to single-family, and we had one development that the Narins did, Julia and Jimmy, which was a 5 or 6 unit development, I forget the number of units, and that was just developed here within the last couple of years. But those were the 2 subdivisions that were approved by the town council during those years. So we've had a hard time encouraging residential to come to Smithfield. That has a lot to do with the development that went on in the Clayton area. Probably the reason why Smithfield is seeing a lot of development coming here now, because the land costs are much cheaper than they are in Clayton. They've escalated to the point the developers have jumped. They have not only jumped to Smithfield, they have also jumped to Benson and other communities. And so to bring that to a point, and this is from a personal point of view. I have one son that's a teacher. I think you all know Chris. He could not afford to come back to Smithfield and buy a home that he would like to buy. That's one reason why he lives in Clinton, because economically, the houses down there are not as costly as they are in Smithfield. I have another son that lives in Fuquay Varina. His wife is, by the way, my son is a teacher. He teaches at West Johnson, and his wife's a teacher. That's the ones that live in Clinton. My younger son is married to a teacher, and he's a he works for the city of Raleigh as the superintendent for the Parks and Recreation Program. And they live in Fuquay Varina, mainly because they couldn't afford to buy in Raleigh and Wake County and Cary, and so they moved out. So the affordable housing is of a tremendous need. And that it just doesn't mean single-family residential. It also means multifamily in the form of townhomes and apartments. And then my other son that we'll talk about is Ross. He chooses to live in the Village District in Raleigh. And his generation, they don't want maintenance. They don't want to take care of a yard. They don't want to worry about upkeeping their property. They want that to be all done by an association or a rental entity. So therefore, they choose to live in apartments. And that's what we're starting to see in the planning community, is a lot of multifamily coming in because it's affordable and for the fact that they don't have to maintain it, operate it, and the other things like you do a home. So it is some consideration to give that you might want to look at when you talk about density. I would be saying, why are we staying at 9.68 units of density for maximum for multifamily? Just go down the road to Benson. Their minimum is 10. Their maximum is 12.85, almost 13, you might say. So we might be a little bit low on the density ratio. But people are changing, things are growing. I know our church serves about 400 people that are going through the food pantry every Friday. And so there's a need, and that also indicates there's an income level that having trouble to have food, so they're also having trouble to have housing, good housing. The growth is coming, and there is coming hard. And we're currently planning to expand the church. We're up to, when it was in downtown Smithfield, it was a church of 178 people. Today, that same church has 14,000 people that come and go, about 4,000 on any given Sunday. And like most churches, they don't come all the time, but on the rolls, there's over 14,000. So the people are coming to Johnston County, they're ethnically diverse, and I think you need to give some consideration to having affordable housing for those folks, as well as to have affordable housing, not only for teachers, but firemen and police who are good public servants, but it's hard to get for them to get housing. So with that being said.
Thank you, Mr. Handler. Thank you very much. And you're saying that affordable housing would be in the means of multifamily, since that's what we're talking about here tonight?
That's correct.
Okay. All right, thank you. Appreciate it. Okay. Anyone else wishing to speak on this matter, please come forward at this time.
Good evening. I'm Teresa Daughtry at 25 White Oak Drive in Smithfield, and I've lived here for 37 years. I think the reason I'm concerned with what you're doing is I feel there's more to the story than what we really know. I understand that some don't want to live in multifamily, or some don't want these houses close by, but the generation that's coming in is not the same generation that I live in. If you ask them in Garner, Clayton, Raleigh, Cary, Apex, and you ask them what do they want, they said, we want something that we can enjoy our weekends. We don't have any maintenance to handle. We want something where everything's taken care of. We have an HOA. We don't have to do anything. Take our kids to the ball games. So Smithfield has got to accept these things. I'm not saying that everything that comes across your table is a yes. But I'm also saying that, you know, you can put restrictions on how they are built, what they look like. If you don't think that that's enough, then what more are you asking for? Last week, I have one of the largest multifamily housing companies. They are the top 5 largest developers in '24, and they're the top 10 largest builders in '24. Looking at a tract of land. This company is out of Florida. Last week, he said, I'm interested, but I understand your town is going through a rough patch right now. Now, this man's in Florida. He's not been here. So he's not had a chance to even see the property other than what the marketing is. And that is very disturbing to me because I've had to deal with this for 23 or 24 years of people saying that they don't feel that they're welcomed to come to Smithfield with a project, whether it be residential, whether it be retail, whether it be industrial. The good old boy thing is going away. We're having people come to us that nobody knows them. They're coming from all over everywhere. And I just think that we're hurting ourselves for our tax basis. You want this and you want that, but I feel it's unfair to raise my taxes because you don't want the growth in our community. Your children may want to live in one of those multifamily projects. They may want to stay in one of them. I would be willing to bet if anybody works in this office here came today to look for a place to live and they were single by themselves, would you tell them there's a place for a young girl go and stay right now in Smithfield? Do you have a multifamily project that you can say, hey, go over here, we know it's a good area, we know who manages them? I would like for you to consider those things and think about them because your children and your grandchildren are the ones that you want to stay in Smithfield. But we're running them out. We're running them out of our town. We're running them out of our county. I don't worry about the county so much, but when you try really hard to help people, and I feel like there's more to this story than what we're hearing, it's very disheartening because I take my job very seriously, and I know you all do too. But it is like taking 5 steps forwards and 20 steps backwards. When every time I turn around, they're saying, well, I understand they're not very welcoming. I had a company today, which was the GSF industry, and they wanted to go to Selma, and then I tried, I said, well, no, Smithfield's is really where I'd like to put you. Well, I know, I've heard it's too complicated. They make it too complicated. When these developers come into town, their time is money. When you guys sit here and make these decisions, you have got to think about these developers that are spending the money because you are getting paid. Most of you are not self-employed. So you don't understand maybe what it is when they come up here on a project and they've already spent $50,000 to get the drawings done for Stephen to look at them, and they're told to come back. So I'm just asking you guys to think with a little bit more of understanding of the public, not just what this board feels like is in the best interest for this town. I bet you if you ask the people behind me how many are for this, I'd love to know how many would raise their hand and say, we're against this. So I would like for somebody to ask and see what these people that are important to you all. These people are the ones that you have to understand we pay the taxes. We pay the salaries. We do what this county needs, and we expect you all to be there for us, not for what your opinion is or what you think is right. It's for the community as a whole. Thank you.
Thank you, Teresa. Let me just add on that a little. It's absolutely our job to do what we think is in the best interest of this town. That is absolutely my job, and that is these gentlemen up here's job. That is what we are elected to do, is what is in the best interest of this town, not just one segment, not just one industry, but what is best for the entire town. So I just want to make that clear, because I feel like there were a few things that may have been directed possibly to me based off of some things that I've heard from the planning board meeting minutes. But more to come after we get through the rest of the comments here. Anyone else wishing to speak on this matter, please come forward.
My name's Greg Evans. I live at 1090 North Lakeside Drive. I own other property also in Smithfield. I have an opportunity of a career that's taken me around the world to see a lot of big cities that didn't do too good on planning. And let me tell you, as a citizen of Smithfield, I came here because I didn't want what I saw in these other large cities. So thank you for what you're doing. Second point that I'd like to make is I must have come to the wrong meeting, because I think what I heard from the planning department is you're not restricting multifamily. You're actually talking about getting more control over multifamily. So thank you for clarifying that, but things I've heard didn't necessarily align to that, so I figured maybe I better clarify. I also want to thank you as a citizen here for 33 years. I've seen a lot of things happen in this town. I've actually got to give credit to this back here named Mr. Paul Emler, because I've talked to him many times about, I believe Smithfield's got to get in front of these things before they get in front of you. And I say that working with a very large corporation and a site leader in the Research Triangle Park. The one thing that I would encourage the board to consider, whether it's the planning board or also the commissioners, is I would also encourage you to look at your buffering, regardless of what you pick. I think that your consideration of buffering needs to be also looked at as a condition, because I think that's what will create a lot of controversy, truthfully, with neighbors. And looking at the way it is today, if I understand it correctly, if it is the zoning of B3, it has one type. If it is a different type of zoning, it has a different buffer. I don't think all of those truthfully fit. And so I would encourage you to look at your buffering as you go through this process. Again, as a citizen, thank you very much for everything you do for this town.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to speak on this matter, please come forward. Not seeing any. All right. Any further questions from the board at this time?
Mayor, I have some questions, and I'd like to thank the citizens for coming here, and those that are interested in the real estate business, whether it's commercial or residential. I agree, it is our job to do what's best in this town, in the best interest. But Mayor, I must agree with the confusion in regards to this being been talked about for a while. I don't know why I missed some of that discussion, but having reviewed this, it seems to me that this conditional zoning idea versus a quasi-judicial hearing, we've dealt with both of them. And I was coming into this meeting with the understanding that perhaps we were taking out multifamily from B3. And looking at the maps and stuff, you know, this is a large portion of the property that we have in Smithfield. I have a copy here, Mr. Winsman, you had it up there a few minutes ago. But, you know, zoning is a concept, and all things are negotiable. But the thing that I struggle with this request is it seems that this could complicate the layers to get to rezoning, so it puts another step in there. I really think that this is a reactive response. My concern is, why don't we have somebody on staff? We've got money in the budget for economic development. Let's make that happen. Let's be proactive and do that. But having said that, you know, if you look at the 6.6 that Mr. Winsman pointed out on the map, I pulled it up here on my tablet because it's very comprehensive, and that's just a screenshot there. If I can get my tablet to go back work.
I got it up.
Yeah, as you can see, the SS, you know, and I want to make sure the council understands that, you know, the PS pretty much goes through the planning staff. And it's documented in our UDO right here, and I think it's good for us to talk about this, the interpretation of 6.2, and it talks about these numbers, or these letters and numbers that are there. But a special use and a supplemental regulation is what that SS stands for. And for a person to obtain a special use permit, it has to come before the planning board and before this board. And so we do have control over multifamily, as well as all these other topics besides the ones where the Ps are. And I raised a question that if we're going to change this to CZ, in whatever concept that is, there needs to be more discussion on how we get to that. Because if you look at this chart, This SS stays and all the other, and B3 is the only one that won't have it. And I say that to say this. I have received a lot of phone calls, and I appreciate everyone that has contacted me about this, and I want us to be proactive in how we make this decision. And I don't know that we have enough information tonight to make that decision. If all we're doing tonight is taking the SS off the chart, in fact, we are restricting multifamily in the B3. And Mayor, I just want to make sure that, you know, we keep in mind that we also have the map. If you look at the map, Mr. Wisdom, can you please bring the map up that you have?
Comprehensive plan?
No, I would like the map for the zoning, the current zoning.
This one.
There you go. And essentially, for those that may not understand, we're talking about every box on there, and I'm assuming your ledger says B3, and that one is the one I've printed, is in fact red. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. Mr. Winsman, we've got a major corridor that's coming through, and this council needs to consider it. I feel like that if there's amendments that need to be made, it's not only to B3. The R20A is going to be a primary corridor that's going to go out Buffalo Road with a new Interstate 42. So some of these things, all these things need to be looked at. But I do think that being reactive and just changing this one thing without having further knowledge of it is not appropriate. I have some other things that perhaps will come up in discussion, but I would like to ask the citizens, how many people here are opposed to this? Can you show your hands? And I think it's important for this board to understand that. Thank y'all. And thank you for those that have come. So, Mayor, I do think we can do better on our communication part, because I, as a council member, and I know I've talked to other council members, we're very confused about this. And nothing to you but, you know, we can do better. I've asked since I've been on this board, you know, I pose the question, what are our priorities? You know, what are our goals? We need to spend time together. I know we're all busy, but it is our job to do what's best for this town. Let's have a retreat at some point and get some of these ideas together. Let's meet with the planning board instead of being reactive and changing this thing, and then somebody that owns a B3 property has to go through another level of rezoning to get it changed. And I'll stop right there for now. Thank you, Mayor.
Anyone, let me just point of clarification as far as communication. I draw your attention to page 20 in our agenda. It specifically says, as an alternative to special use permit, a developer can request a conditional rezoning such as a B3 CZ. It is clearly stated in our agenda. Not, Mr. Scott, I'm just saying that it's clear in our agenda. Understand you may have missed that in your agenda, but to me, it's very clear. So, Councilman Stevens, I think you had something to say.
Yeah. This council is unlike any other council before. The arguments I was just hearing, I would have been rah-rah-ree right with you 5 years ago. But over the past 3 years, Stephen, do you have this spreadsheet with what we've approved?
I do not.
Shannon's.
This is a very telling on what we've approved in the last 3 years, or since I've been around. When was it? This goes back to 2020, 2019. We've approved 3,914 units.
Okay, gotcha.
Of that, 70% are multifamily. 30% of that is single family. 1,159
Gotcha. Okay.
single family. The rest are 1,507 townhomes and 1,248 multifamily units approved in the town of Smithfield. That comes out to a projected 7,985 person population. That's a 75% increase in the current town of Smithfield population. So, I know housing studies are important. I listened to all the studies we presented, but this is real time. A housing study will be helpful, no doubt. But you talk about taxes being raised. Taxes get raised when we grow too quick. Taxes get raised, I mean, I've said this in public settings the past few meetings, and we've got to be careful, because there's all kinds of municipal studies out there that show that it costs, for every dollar of tax base that residential brings in, it costs us $1.30 to $1.40 to service that customer. We live in a high service town, and I'm not going to compromise any service for this town. As opposed to every dollar that commercial brings in, it costs the town roughly 30 to 40 cents. So we've got to find that happy medium. Where's that happy medium? I don't know. But I do feel that we are approaching really changing the view of Smithfield. And it's not going to be that quiet little town that I grew up in, that everybody here grew up in, where your kids can ride a bike to school. This is one little change that I'm sorry they might have to do another piece of paperwork, but we get to keep our arms around this growth. I think we've done a good job so far through the use of conditional rezoning. I've been a huge proponent of that. That finds that happy medium between the landowner and the lots of concerned citizens who are against all the development through here and in the county. In the same week, I've been approached about this issue and why we should be against it. And then in the grocery store, why are you approving all those subdivisions? We don't need any more. Well, there's the happy medium. And I feel like I've been consistent on that. So, I would suggest to this council that we do remove that from the B3, given that the population growth is here, is being built out, is in process. It's going to be ready now. But over the next couple of years, those places are going to be available for people to come and move into, and find that affordable housing. It's coming. So if we can find an opportunity to. We don't have crystal balls. This is my part-time job. I mean, I learn something every time I sit up here and talk and listen. We've got to keep our arms around it. We got one chance to get this right. And if we aren't careful and put up a few more little restrictions, then it's gone. We're raising taxes. We're building more schools. But we're finding where the sewer is. We're running out of water. I think we're quickly headed down that road, and putting up a little bit of a couple guardrails in, I think is well within our purview and something we should consider.
Thank you, Councilman Stevens. And I just want to iterate that, right? Mr. Embler, you mentioned no growth during that period that you were planning director. Stephen, Annette, I believe you will attest that we have a tremendous amount of growth.
It's getting to be
going on right now, right? A tremendous amount. It was also mentioned about the policy that we put into place. Since I became mayor, that is one of the things that I wanted to do, was promote residential growth. Because with the residential growth, we all know, with rooftops comes retail, okay? We've had study after study. We have an economic development study presented to us where the lady mentioned I'm paraphrasing here, you need to protect your business property. That is what this is about, right? It's protecting our business property for business. It is not saying that you cannot have multifamily. It is not saying that some of those areas in town are not okay for multifamily housing. That's not what this is saying, right? The developer will then have to come and seek a rezoning. So right now, under a special use permit, it was stated a bit earlier from a citizen that we do have control over what it can look like and what goes in there. That is not true. That is not true. But if you bring it in under a conditional rezoning, which we have done multiple of these recently, and it has worked well. Lee sat up here earlier from Central Pines and talked about collaboration. Ladies and gentlemen, that's what conditional rezoning and conditional zoning is. That is a collaboration, and it allows this council to continue to have discussions with a developer. So in hopes that we get the very best product that we can, not only for our new citizens that are moving in here, but for our existing citizens. And this data right here, I suggest that the Board of Realtors and some other people, they go back and look at their facts. 70% of our new development in Smithfield over the last 3 to 4 years is what? Multifamily. 70%. If you take in the 2 developments that were on the planning board meeting the last time, the second time this was on the planning board, if you take those in, that night, over 100 multifamily units were brought to the planning board last week. That puts this town at 72% multifamily. Mr. Embler mentioned and stated that he thought affordable housing was multifamily. I don't think anybody in their right mind would say a town with 72% of your new development of multifamily is trying to restrict multifamily growth. Anyone else wishing to speak?
Mr. Mayor, as a representative of District 4, which is also incorporates West Smithfield, which, as we know, many years ago used to be the economic boom. It was the place to go. I don't know, some of you are too young, but it used to be the only place in Smithfield if you wanted to go to get something to eat or something to wear or something to drive or some drugs. Now, that's where you went to, was in West Smithfield. That's where you went. Legal drugs. Legal drugs. You can still go somewhere else.
From the pharmacy.
That's right.
From Acker Drug, if you...
Right. More specifically, the Acker drug that was at Rose Manor Shopping Center.
Dana, be sure you get it right.
That's right. But, you know, I mean, we used to have the likes of Kmart, Holly Myers, Wendy's, Eckerd's Drugs, Pizza Hut, First Citizen Banks, Woodall's. None of those are there anymore. None. We have an empty area that they store furniture in. Now, I want to get some help from realtors to do something. Let's do something over in West Smithfield in the B3 areas that we've got designated B3 and bring in some businesses to West Smithfield. We've got, let's look at something else here, residential growth. We've got many new apartments, townhomes already being built in West Smithfield. All the prime real estate, they brought in more housing. We never see West Smithfield return to the place of the past if we continue to use our B3 areas for residential housing. We have Amazon, and Amazon bringing in more and more people. That place is packed all the time because I have to go through there to traffic. That place is continuing to pack. We've got new housing being built over there right across the road. That will include multifamily housing included in that. And they need a place to shop. They need a place to eat. They need a place to buy their legal drugs. They need those places, and we need to protect the business. And I'm telling you, if you know me, you know I have said this from the day one, 7 years ago when I got on this board, that I've never been in favor of reducing B3 to anything but business. When the church came before us, and I'm a pastor of a church, and I said no, because we can't afford to lose our business for something else. So I'm still a supporter of that. I believe now that there should be a good balance between multifamily and businesses. There should be a good balance. And again, what we're saying is, because some of these things are rated B3, we didn't do it. Somebody else did it. I mean, you know, we didn't put these things in place. Somebody else did it, which means there may be some B3 places that we should be rezoning for multifamily or something else. But there's stuff that's in the corridor. And to somebody else's point too, I think Councilman Stevens' perspective, there are some other areas we need to be looking at. Maybe it was Scott. We need to be looking at some other areas as we look at the corridors coming in that we need to rezone for business. But we got to protect our business areas to allow people to market and sell spaces for realty. We need business. I tell you, my people in West Smithfield, every time I go out and they start talking to me about election, they ask me, when are we going to get some businesses in West Smithfield? They don't say, hey, got any more multifamily housing come up? Not a single person ever says that to me. Zero. Not a one person. That's all they say. I think we got enough houses. That's what they say, don't they, Roger? But they always say, when are we going to have a place to eat? When are we going to have a place to shop? When are we going to have some businesses in West Smithfield? That's what we hear time after time after time. For me to support my citizens in West Smithfield, District 4, I got to tell you, ain't no way I'm not voting to make that B3 permanent B3 and get away with the other, because we need to protect that area. That's what my citizens want. And I would do injustice to those who elected me for me to do anything else. So that's just slightly my opinion.
Thank you, Dr. Barber.
Thank you, sir.
Well, to piggyback on Dr. Barber, I live in West Smithfield, and I do hear the same sentiments. We have a lot of older residents that live in West Smithfield that remember, and I remember as a child, to his point, it was the thriving place in Smithfield. I heard a lot of you say, we need more multifamily, we need more balance. Well, how much more? We got 72% multifamily. I think that's out of balance, to be honest with you. Is that balanced? I don't think that is. I think we offer affordable housing. And if you look at the market, everywhere's going up. And we're staying within the medium income we have. I'm not sure about your report that you're going to have, but did you get any of this information from us?
Yes, we did.
You did?
We also
Okay, well, I shouldn't ask.
Yeah, so public hearing is closed.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
We haven't
That was
closed
my
it.
mistake.
We didn't
I'm
close it.
sorry.
We didn't-
Public comment
Yes,
is
that was I'm
closed.
sorry about that.
Excuse me. Yep.
But I do hear, and I serve the entire town, I don't hear anything about multifamily. I do hear about, when are we going to get another grocery store option? When are we going to get more restaurants? When are we going to get more businesses to shop? That's what I mainly hear. And I do hear from what Councilman Stevens says, why'd you approve this development? Why'd you do this? So, we are hearing from the citizens. I do talk to the citizens. Now, I'm not saying every B3 area should be designated B3, and I don't think we're saying that. Again, it's in our agenda. It can be brought to the council under condition zoning, and then we can look at it by case. But I think this is a good move for the town, and the Councilman Stevens' comments, we've got to be able to control our B3 and where we're at. If not, we're going to run out of room for any retail. We've said it many times. The mayor said it in this is my third term. He's been saying it since I was on the council. If you bring the rooftops, the retails will come. If you don't have any retail space, they can't come. So I think it's a good point. It's not removing it completely. It's just putting an extra step in there so we can protect our B3.
Mayor, for Mr. Winsman, the conditional zoning, so we've determined this is a text amendment, but would there be any, besides modifying that chart, does that make everything that doesn't have a letter conditional zoning?
Each zoning district has a parallel conditional zone. So I'm not quite sure what you're asking, but if you have a B3 property and you want to do multifamily, obviously you can't do it in the B3 district, and there will not be an option for a B3 CZ because the use does not exist in the B3. But if it's guided in the comprehensive plan, particularly for medium-density residential, the R8 district is more than likely available to rezone to or rezone to an R8 conditional zone.
So it would have to be rezoned to R8, and then that could be a conditional zone.
Could be a
at that point.
conditional.
For example, if you have a couple houses that are in that B3, just the way the map got adopted, and there was an infill house, how would that work if we change this tonight?
I mean, if you have an existing house in the
Let's
district?
say you have a run of them, or you have some back property, perhaps it backs the railroad, and somebody wants to come in and bring something that doesn't really affect the business corridor, as I hear, but how would that procedure work?
It really depends on where it is. You know, is it guided in the comprehensive plan? Like, let's just take, for instance, South Smithfield. There are a number of properties on the kind of the west the west side of South Brightleaf Boulevard that are that are Zone B3, but they're guided for medium-density residential. It's mostly old houses. You could very likely rezone to an R8 district and do multifamily in those, take down the houses and put up multifamily as an infill project.
So they
It
would have to
be a
come
different
ask for-
district.
to be rezoned from B3 to R8, if that's what they select.
R8, there's a couple different options. It really depends how big your site is, whether it can be a standalone district or whether it's attached to additional R8 zoning. So there's a discussion with planning that would probably be had to help guide the project for greater success, essentially.
So Mayor, to the point we just discussed, I want to understand, how do we fix the bigger picture, the whole UDO? I mean, that's the part that seems to be troubling. If we get it on the table, we're being transparent, we're talking about it, but that is not the way that I perceived this or understood this, even talking with staff. I mean, I've called Mr. Winsman and talked to him, and I appreciate you clarifying that. But having said that, I still have questions about the, if we could probably listen to our planning board, and let's have a group meeting. That's very productive. Figure this thing out, but that's what I have.
Okay. Any other questions from anybody? Okay. Not.
I move we close the public hearing.
Second. Motion and a second to close the public hearing. All in favor?
Aye.
Mayor, I make a
Any
motion
opposed?
that we table this,
So before we get there, I got a couple of comments that I would like to address. First and foremost, I want to say thank you to everybody that's come and talked, right? I think it's been very informative, and you got to understand that, and I see the planning, how many planning board members do we have in the audience? So we got a good number of planning board members in the audience, and I want to thank you for what you've done. And continue to do, and thank you for your service. But I do want to say that, Smithfield is experiencing a lot of residential growth right now, a lot. And in fact, if you want to know what the 70% is, what the number is we've got about, 4,000? Can't read without my glasses. 3,914 residents on the books right now. 3,900. Now, when I was elected mayor, I did say that I wanted to focus on residential, as you heard me say earlier, because with the residential comes the rooftops. But it is our duty and our obligation, right, to look at the future and what that means, and to somewhat grow in an orderly manner, right, excuse me. So 4,000, roughly 4,000 homes, and that's single family and multifamily. I think that's a pretty good hit for Smithfield, pretty good hit. Like I said, that in itself just shows how much growth we are experiencing and how quickly that growth is coming. We need to protect our land zoned for business along our major thoroughfares for business use, so that our citizens will have a place to conduct business. And was mentioned somewhere about workplace housing. I want to protect that property so that our citizens have a place to work in the town of Smithfield. So there's been some talk about, why not remove multifamily from the B1 and the B2 districts if you're going to move it from the B3. So I'd like to touch on that just a minute. B1 and B2 districts are primarily close to the downtown area, as you see from the map. And we should promote people living in our downtown area, close to downtown, so they can walk and so that they can also possibly live above the retail areas that we have down there. The more people living in and around downtown means more people going to shop, so that our businesses don't all close up with the courthouse at 5 o'clock. This will help promote and maintain a vibrant downtown. B3 districts, on the other hand, as you see, are primarily located on or near major thoroughfares, such as Highway 301, Highway 70, and entrance-ways to our town. I hear almost daily from citizens that they would like to see more newer businesses, such as additional grocery stores, such as higher places to shop, higher-end places to shop, and more choices in restaurants, just to name a few. If all the prime land located in these areas along the highways is taken up by housing, then we will not have a place for these establishments to locate. If this amendment is passed and multifamily is removed from the table of permitted uses within the B3 district, as we talked about, there will still be an avenue for multifamily housing to locate in these areas. However, the town council will have some say as to what the development will look like. Having to apply for a conditional rezoning will not add any more burden on the developer. In fact, it is a better process where both the developer and the town council can work together, can collaborate together to agree on a project that serves both the developer and the town citizens. Conditional rezoning is already occurring in Smithfield, and it's working. Multifamily housing is already allowed in many other districts, actually 6 other districts in Smithfield. Therefore, removing multifamily housing from the B3 district will not drive up the price of housing and will not cause a shortage in affordable or workforce housing. In fact, it will allow for businesses to locate in areas so that our citizens have a place to work. What does that mean? By having a place to work, the median income in Smithfield potentially goes up. As the mayor, that's what I want to see. Everybody thriving, everybody has a place to work, everybody has a place to live right here in the town of Smithfield at a good wage. That's what this will allow us to do. This is not to say that there aren't some areas already zoned B3 on this map that would make sense for multifamily use. However, having the conditional rezoning process allows the council to have some say as to what the development will look like, the amenities it will offer, the exterior look, construction materials utilized, such as brick, and have some say as to other architectural features of those buildings. You asked what the rush. Some people asked what the rush was, and I've heard people say that. Well, personally, I don't think that going to the planning board twice is rushing into things. We're growing very fast, and we must act now before it's too late. We don't need to pull the same old government trick and wait for a study that may take a year to complete. At the rate we are growing, it will be too late, and all the property that is available where grocery stores, restaurants, and other businesses would want to locate. And there will not be any place for them to go. So all the work that we have put in over the last years trying to attract residential growth and the new homes so that we could in turn get the amenities that I hear that our citizens so badly want will all be for naught. Because again, there will not be any place for them to go. To the members of the Board of Realtors, you mentioned in the planning board, and by your own statistics, say that property remains on the market an average of 29 days. 29 days in Smithfield. It'll simply be too late. I've had my real estate license since 1996. I dare say I've had it longer than any real estate agent in this room. I'm not really sure, but I dare say that. In fact, by my statistics, I got mine in 96. My wife sitting here got hers in 96.
Residential. I mean, there's a lot of B3s. This does fully contradict.
Which is quite a bit of time. My father-in-law has practiced real estate in Johnston County since 1970 and had one of the oldest real estate companies in Johnston County, which I served as the vice president of for that company for many, many, many years. My wife's grandfather helped start the Johnston County Board of Realtors. He served on the first board. He created the Johnston County Board of Realtors.
Yeah.
So I absolutely appreciate the Board of Realtors' input, but I also ask why I would do anything that would jeopardize my family. Half of my family's income is from real estate. There's been many things said about me over the last few weeks regarding this matter, and from some of you sitting in this room, and things that are very, very hurtful to me. And it's been said that I wanted to push for this amendment because the mayor didn't want townhomes in his neighborhood. And I stand right here in front of you to say that that is absolutely not true. And in fact, I built my house just a few years ago out by the country club. And if you look out my back door, if you sit on my porch, if you stand in my backyard, and if you look at any window, the back of my house, guess what you see? You see townhomes. I didn't have to move there. I chose to move there. Those townhomes were already there when I moved there. So it hurts, and it hurts me personally. And I have sat and met with a developer of a certain piece of property that some have insinuated was the reason why I was pushing for this. And I told that developer right to his face that I thought townhomes was the best thing that should go there. But I also said I thought that we should have some kind of say in the product that's being built there. Because, like I said earlier, our citizens that are already here need protection, just like our new citizens that are coming in. I've served the citizens of Smithfield for 25 years.
This red is
My kids
to be
were not even born.
mixed with a quarter.
And I have given all this time
Yeah.
because I want to do what is right for Smithfield. And I truly believe that this is what is right for Smithfield. So thank you. So, gentlemen, with that being said, yes, and what's the
Mayor,
pleasure of the board? So,
I just want to tell you, thank you for the comments, and, you know, I just, as talking with Councilman Sloan, we was looking over the comprehensive growth map. That's going to steer this project more to that for reference. But having said that, you know, it's important we keep in mind those infills too, but looking at getting the facts really helps, and this has been a healthy meeting for me to understand some of these things, but some of these we could be doing, talking in workshops and stuff too. I know we added the second council meeting, but, you know, at the end of the day, this is a very important topic, but I think there's a lot more reach than just the B3 in what I see. Because there's going to be areas that infill would make sense for multifamily, and I guess the CZ gives the flexibility of staff and the council to take a look at it from that perspective. I did not know that this is in fact, the way that this amendment was going to transpire.
So, Mr. Mayor, I recommend we move to approve zoning amendment ZA 2402, amending Article 10, Section 6.6, finding the amendment consistent with the Town of Smithfield Comprehensive Growth Management Plan and other adopted plans, and that the amendment is reasonable and in the public interest.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor of the amendment, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
I'm going to vote no.
Okay. So I've got 3 no and 1, 2, 3, 4 yes. Is that correct? Okay. Motion carries. Right. Thank you, gentlemen. And thank you to everybody. Appreciate it. No, I got it. Yeah, yeah. Thank you, John. Thank you, John. Thank you, John.
Did they redo that chart?
They didn't include it. These are not included.
Oh, they're not?
The highlighted ones are included, only the non-highlighted ones.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah, the highlighted and crossed are included.
All right, gentlemen.
So that's why.
Feel like it's about level one.
It does that, sir. We'll move on now to our citizens' comments. If there's anyone wishing to speak during citizens' comments, please come forward at this time. I'll ask you to please state your name and address for the record, and I'll ask you to please try to hold your comments to 3 minutes.
I will do my best. We have, I asked Shannon to pass out a timeline to everybody about the social district, and this is what my main comments are, but I did want, and also, if you had questions on the social district that were also given to you. Sorry. Okay. But I wanted to first, before I said anything, so that's why I'm not sure if I'll get 3 minutes or not. I wanted to say thank you to the participants that came up and talked, the people that, in the council that talked. This is having good conversation about issues. That's what needs to happen. People need to know what's going on, and when it is of the public interest, it's important for it to have clear discussion, have creativity, and it happened in this meeting. I don't always see that, and that is what I'm going to address. And I'm sorry, but I'm going to have to tell you that I wanted to also address the fact that how proud I am to the town for all the volunteers, for so many of our boards, and grateful for what they do. Our town council is a little different. They do volunteer to run and take office to serve the whole, whether a district or ultimately serving the whole town. In every meeting, you usually say, do not harm or do not cause any personal things for any particular person. You want to do the best that you can. I believe that it goes a little further beyond the laws. As Dr. Barber told us, we have to be fair and equal to all. Maybe a change if fairness is in question. That needs to be addressed. The citizens of Smithfield need to feel supported, listened to, and heard with action. Otherwise, they don't, because it causes them not to speak out because of repercussions from the town in many powerful and effective ways that keep citizens quiet. I have talked to our mayor about negative experiences from citizens, but our mayor said that he'd only heard positive. And when he takes the oath of the mayor in Article 3 of the municipal codes, it states that he will strive to do equal in all cases, and he has stated that tonight. Some of my information from the website may have changed, so it may not be all quite accurate. I have concerns about the social district because mainly a lack of transparency from September 2023 until now. Questions from Pam Lampe and myself have been requested to be answered to find out the cost, the responsibilities, say, of the DSDC, the town, which is the citizens that are paying the bills, legal liabilities, and other issues. These questions haven't been answered by the town or DSDC or legal counsel. Not having or asking for input from the public is concerning. We haven't been told if even taking a survey of the members of DSDC was done. You would think this will be important if they're going to be the ones that are paying extra. Also, the form you are scheduled to sign tonight has, as far as I knew at the time of this meeting, DSDC and the town are co-sponsors. Their monthly meeting is after tonight. Do the members know that they are co-sponsors of the social district? Looks like the citizens of Smithfield are footing the bill for liability insurance and other expenses. Are the duties of the co-sponsorship listed and agreed upon? Sounds a little rushed to me. Why? Our social district is already in the municipal code as of 7/16/24 as ordinance number 518-2023 to amend chapter 17 to allow and your agreement for co-sponsorship hasn't even been agreed upon and signed. As I have said many times, I want the best for our town and its citizens. That's why Pam and I are here. We want an open dialogue, which we have asked for many times, with respect and creativity and transparency, giving everyone a foundation of trust, which doesn't appear to be part of this social district. I hope you readdress the social district with the motion to reconsider Division 2, Section 2-49, Code 196.7, which needs to be done tonight. You have 30 days to do it. This is it. So it's your choice. Whenever there is a separation between citizens, the towns, and the council, we ask, why? And take another look, see how the transparency has been. You can't know if you can't see. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Ms. Kimmel. Anyone else wishing to speak during citizens' comments, please come forward. Yes, ma'am. Ms. Lampy. Again, I'll ask you to please try to keep it to 3 minutes, please.
I'll do my very best.
Kind of late, and go ahead, but.
Okay. Pam Lampy, 415 North 2nd Street. I just want to say I, like Em, appreciate all the dialogue tonight and just our conversations with each of you. We're very proud to be citizens of Smithfield, and we're very proud of all of you. Okay. I have a word or two from the citizens. We experienced a lack of transparency from you in the July 16, 2024 council meeting regarding the passage of a social district in Smithfield. We agree with Wingate Laster in his editorial from the Weekly Sun. Mr. Laster stated it was not the way to settle a controversial matter. It would have been much fairer to all concerned if the plan put together Tuesday could have laid on the table until the council's next regularly scheduled meeting on August 13, when it's more likely all 7 members will be present. We believe the vote would have been 4-3 against the proposal if all members were present. 3 council members were absent when the mayor added this issue to an already published public agenda. The public had no knowledge this was being added prior to the meeting. The council effectively excluded 3 of its own members and we the people from their discussions/approval of this issue. Consideration of a social district is not critical to the operation of our town. So why was it so necessary for the vote to be conducted that night without public's knowledge and 3 council members not available? For full transparency, a council member could request a motion to reconsider so that the social district issue could be readdressed tonight. We hope you do this to correct it. The other option, which is not as transparent, is to halt the approval of Agenda Item 5 tonight, which requests your consideration and approval to a maintenance and operation plan for the social district until citizens' questions have been properly answered, and to account for the lack of transparency concerning the issue from the very beginning. The questions we have given Shannon, those are for Item 5 tonight for you to ask during the presentation on that. Again, we elected you to represent us, not to exclude us. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Lampy. Anyone else wishing to speak during citizens' comments? Please come forward. I do, just one point of clarification. I heard you mention that when the mayor added that to the agenda, the mayor did not add that to the agenda. The agenda was set, and just like we do every night, just like every council meeting, and just like we did tonight, I asked the council, was there any amendments to the agenda? There were amendments made. There was a motion made to add to the agenda and duly seconded, and this council added it to the agenda. The mayor did not add it to the agenda. So, no, we're done. So, well, yeah, I mean, sure. Oh, yeah, sorry. Yes, you can. You can, yes, sorry.
I apologize, Mayor Moore, for that.
Yeah, no problem.
I
just want to make sure, you said the mayor added it to the agenda, and I want to be clear.
I was told the mayor sets the agenda.
And there's that, but what was done is no different. I know, it doesn't change yours. It was just my point of clarification, right?
Sorry.
It is no different than what we normally do. So thank you.
I'm sorry.
Oh, no problem, no problem. Anyone else wishing to speak? Okay. I'm not seeing any. We'll move on now to the consent agenda. Do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
I make a motion we approve the consent agenda.
As amended.
As amended.
Tonight.
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. All right. Now we're getting to business items, and we have some developers here from out of town, so my apologies to you gentlemen. But we will now move on to our first business item. It's rezoning request at 400 Brightleaf Boulevard. It's RZ-24-06. David Dupree of Market Street Investments is requesting the rezoning of 3 parcels, a .89 acre parcel, Johnston County Tax ID 15033 in the O&I Office Institutional Zoning District, a .15 acre tract, Johnston County Tax ID 150-16033, and a .14 acre parcel, Johnston County Tax ID 150-16032, in the R6 High Density Single, 2, and multifamily zoning district to the B3 Highway Entrance Business Zoning Districts. Stephen, I'll turn it over to you, sir.
Sure. So this is a presentation I gave at the last meeting when this item was, the decision was tabled. So Walgreens is the B3 property on this map. The R6 property shown on this map is mostly vacant. Some houses exist further down the road. There's an office complex across Hancock. It's another business, and the hospital sits across Brightleaf Boulevard. So it's really at a crossroads of many different zoning districts. So the comprehensive plan guides this property for medium-density residential. The property sits at the juncture of several zoning districts and land uses. The intent of the residential land use designation, it's been a while ago since the comp plan was prepared, but the intent was to grow and protect residential areas by providing multifamily residential conveniently located to like hospitals and drugstores. So I believe that was the intent of the comp plan at that time. But again, this site sits at the juncture of many different land uses, and there's a lot of competing forces. Number of years back, Mr. Dupree had requested the vacation of the right-of-way, the 9th Street right-of-way in his property. That was done. The council approved that. At that time, the easement remained in place, or an easement was placed over the utilities that exist in that corridor. But now it's in a larger development site. And I just want to point out the Evanston Smithfield property shown here on the map. That is owned, as you can see, by the Walgreens. So that's owned by a business entity, even though it's a residential property. So this property sits, it's historically been for commercial for years, but it's been vacant. In 2020, Market Street Investments purchased the adjacent parcels to enlarge the development site and then had the road removed. This site has a 50-foot building setback from Brightleaf Boulevard, so it's a somewhat difficult site to develop. It has a 30-foot utility easement bisecting it where the road used to be, and it has vehicular restrictions. DOT's probably going to prohibit any new access onto Brightleaf Boulevard, will more than likely require them to use the Walgreens entrance, or they'll be able to use Hancock for an entrance. The B3 zoning district is the most expansive and permissive district in town, so there are many different office and commercial uses that could go in that location, and multifamily was an option until tonight. That has been removed. So the applicant's request for the B3 is to just allow for development of his property. But again, I mentioned the Walgreens owns the property next door. The staff believes this is consistent with the comprehensive growth plan as we would amend tonight, because this would be an amendment to the plan. The site will be developed in accordance with the UDO, and I believe it will be compatible with the surrounding land uses, as there's many different land uses in that junction right there. Staff recommends approval, and the recommended motion is here.
Thank you, Stephen. Any questions for staff at this time?
So I guess, Stephen, the intent is to remain commercial?
Yeah, the applicant's here tonight. He has indicated that he does have a proposed project he'd be happy to talk about, if you'd like him to speak.
Sure.
Please.
I do believe that was one of the issues, right?
Yeah,
The
but it was
reason
to-
I was
we'll go there.
Right, so it was delayed. It's not a public hearing, but I think it would be prudent for the applicant to come and possibly state maybe what they had in mind.
Well,
for
I think we wanted to have that, reason we tabled it is because the B3 discussion was going on. It was only fair
Right.
for them to not, anyways.
We want to do multifamily? No, I'm just teasing. My name is David Dupree. My address is 18825 West Catawba Avenue, Cornelius, North Carolina. But I am a Johnson County born and bred boy down the Brogdon Road. We've owned this property, and we actually have a medical user here that's interested in building a facility. And we think it's a perfect use for that. And we only intend for it to be commercial. It was our intent when we bought it way back when.
Yeah. Thank you, David.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Any other questions from
You gotta get some good
council?
barbecue while you're down here. Hope you gotta get some good barbecue while you're here.
I'm glad we were able to work with the closure of that portion of the street and everything to make this more marketable piece of property there. I think it's going to be hopefully a great addition to that area as well. So, all right, what's the pleasure of the council?
Mayor, I'd move that we recommend approving zone map amendment RZ 2406 to find it consistent with the Town of Smithfield Comprehensive Growth Management Plan, and is hereby amended in other adopted plans, and that amendment is reasonable in the public's best interest.
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you, gentlemen. I appreciate you. And again, sorry you had to sit through all of that, but at least I didn't see either one of you nodding off and going to sleep back there, so. It was interesting. Thank you so much. Have a safe trip. Okay, our next item, business item, is consideration and request for approval to adopt ordinance number 521-2024, amending the Town Code Section 5, Division 3, Commercial Vacant Building Maintenance and Appearance Regulations to reestablish the vacant property registry. This is on page 215 of your agenda, just for reference. And Stephen, I'll turn it over to you, sir.
So the town adopted a vacant building registration ordinance in 2020 to address vacant property conditions in the town. In 2022, Mr. Bob Spence proposed and the council adopted ordinances 512 and 513 revising Article 5 and Article 4, unsafe buildings, in a sense to kind of strengthen his hand in dealing with the property behind us and other reasons. And the revised ordinances omitted this portion of the code in the rewrite, so it omitted the vacant property registration. Therefore, staff in the town is requesting a new Section 5, Division 3, to help us, enforce vacant property regulations in the town. And this ordinance does establish an appeals process through the Board of Adjustments. So staff is respectfully requesting the town council approve an amendment to Section 5, Division 3, Commercial Vacant Building Maintenance and Appearance Regulations.
Any questions for staff?
So if approved, or when approved, if approved, the question is, when would it take effect? Immediately?
It would take effect
There's
immediately.
people out there tomorrow starting to put people's names on the list?
Well, we'd start working towards that, yes.
Because it needs to be on the list. Like I said, I mean, that's one thing I think that we all agree. We got properties that have not been in compliance for a long time. And every time we turn around, they keep saying that they're doing something else with them. Doing something else, doing something. Well, we got a deal pending. I don't give a rip about the deal pending. My question is, if we have this policy, it doesn't matter what you got telling us you're doing. If you're not taking care of the business, we're going to write it up and we're going to start the process. Is that what this tells us?
Yes, and I also want to point out, we have a brand-new code enforcement officer who, as of next week, will be full-time doing code enforcement. But right now, he's transitioning out of the utility tech. And while he's been driving around in his utility van, he's already doing a tremendous amount of code enforcement from his utility truck. So once he's full-time for us, I'm sure this will become a priority.
My point on that one was, I know you got my point. My point is, it seems that we have these properties that we keep talking about, and then when we ask about them, well, somebody has a deal, we got a deal going on that. Like, hold on, let's don't do anything, we got a deal going. I don't care about the deal. If they don't meet the timeline, this says we implement, right? Is that correct?
Right. And that's why we're doing this. 'cause
Thank you, sir.
We have the same issues.
That's what I wanted to know.
Kmart building, keep getting down the road.
I know, that's terrible, ain't it?
Yeah, it looks
It's
terrible.
a nasty looking building, that and the Hollingmeyer Bakery that never come, whatever. Anyway.
Any other questions from the council? Okay. All right, do I have a motion?
I move to ordinance. You gotta help me.
To approve.
Okay, I see it here. Move to adopt ordinance
Or
number
adopt.
521-2024, amending the town code, section 5, division 3, commercial vacant building maintenance and appearance regulation.
Motion and a second, all in favor? Any opposed? Motion carries. All right, thank you. All right. Moving on to business item number 3, consideration and request for approval to adopt resolution number 752, accepting a funding package from NCDQ for the establishment of a lead service line replacement program for the town's water distribution system. Ted?
Gentlemen, thank you, and thank you for allowing me to come speak tonight. I'm here to request the council accept the offered funding package from the North Carolina Department of Environmental Quality and adopt the included resolution, number 752. This action will set things in motion to address the latest lead and copper rule revision as issued by the EPA. So as far back as 1991, the EPA mandated that all water lines in the United States and water systems would be free of lead and copper. Since that time, all water systems in the U.S. have implemented sampling and testing plans, which include public notification and replacement of main lines. In 2021, the EPA revised the lead and copper rule by changing the nature of the rule from sampling and testing to identification and replacement. All water systems in the U.S. have until October of this year to create register an inventory of known lead and copper lines, as well as any potential or possible lead service lines that may exist in your community. Although copper is included in the identification inventory, the stress of the plan is lead due to the severity of the health issues lead can have on the human body. This is noted by the current allowable levels in water. Please note that a minuscule amount of both are allowed in parts per million, but lead is 2 orders of magnitude smaller than copper at an allowable level. As you may recall, last year we engaged a consultant to assist in the creation of the Smithfield inventory, and we can report that we are ready to submit online ahead of schedule. Now in 2023, the EPA announced lead and copper rule improvement revision. As always, as part of this set of new regulations, all water systems must create a plan, an action plan, to use the created inventory that we were going to have and begin to identify and the process of removing known lead service lines with the goal of being lead-free in the next 10 years. At this point, I must point out the latest revision is not finalized yet. The hang-up appears to be the question of responsibility of the service lines. The water system owners are responsible for replacing the public lines. But who should be responsible for the private lines, and what about anything interior to the structure, like faucets and sink drains in the home or the business? It's still an unsettled question, and it's why things have not been finalized. But to aid in the next steps of creating the plan that was issued and doing the associated field identification work and implementing public outreach to, the town did apply for and received an offer of assistance from the NCDEQ. The offer is almost $500,000. 60% of these funds will be forgiven. In other words, it's a grant. The remaining $200,000 roughly will be a 0% interest loan payable over 5 years. So that's $40,000, simple math, for 5 years. So we did ask if we can only take the grant and leave the loan. And the NCDEQ politely said, no, that's not possible. But what you can do is take less than your allotted amount if you wish, but that 60-40 split ratio has to remain intact. These funds will get us down the road and hopefully get us almost finished, if not finished, in the identification with the process of investigation, identification, updating the inventory. So what's next? What's the next step? Staff is asking for council to accept that funding offer, to pass the included resolution, and then staff, the manager, and all of us together as a council will begin the budgeting process for $40,000 a year over the next 5 years to repay what we use. So the issue is that the EPA has told us we got to go down this road. The NCDEQ gave us a good deal on how to pay for it. That's all, gentlemen. I'd be happy to answer any questions related to this.
Mr. Credo, what is an example of the pipe that would have lead? That's the older infrastructure generally?
Right. So building codes changed in the 80s, everything relatively new. There was no such thing as lead at all. This would be an older, and unfortunately Smithfield's got it, and they use solder in the goosenecks. That's really where it comes to.
Copper pipes soldered together?
Yeah, it's not, I can tell you the main lines in Smithfield, to our knowledge, they don't exist. We're good. It's the service lines where they gooseneck. There's probably a good deal of that, and we'll use a statistical analysis and get some models. And then the field work is the real expense, because that'll be getting an SUE truck to blow a hole and sample to see if it's of the right age or not. Again, newer homes, not a problem. Extremely old homes, not a problem. It's that thing that was built in the 50s and 60s.
Crap.
Congratulations, West Smithfield. So you're the winner of the lottery. But, well, I mean, that EPA told us we got to do it, and I thought it was a good opportunity, so.
Well, the other question I have related to this, very, very brief. I was kind of under the impression that the town was responsible from the meter in the yard, and this shows, I guess, a right-of-way area. Wouldn't it make sense when this is addressed that the whole thing be replaced at one time? Obviously, we'd have to have a program to help people.
Yeah, yeah, it would make sense. The emphasis and the impetus of this whole thing is to actually just identify. If we do find it, it now becomes a real question of how far do we go? I mean, I don't know that crawling under houses and going into people's, that's not something any water system could economically reasonably do. And that's not something we want to do. I mean, I wouldn't, if I was a homeowner, I wouldn't want you to do it, right? So.
Well, I guess rephrase the question, at what point does what burden will come to the customer? I mean, are they required to comply?
Yeah, that's what remains unsettled with the EPA. That's the whole hangup currently is what is the burden to the individual homeowner? And they haven't figured a way to resolve that yet, but it is clear that on the public side, we've got to get started.
Okay.
So my question is, the funding for $500,000, does that cover everything that we need, or is that just what is that?
Okay.
I mean.
Well, we can, let me give you a preview. So the $500,000 is essentially to get a lot of let me get this one. Probably about half of it will be in field investigations, which is what taking an SUE air truck and blowing and sampling, creating a sampling plan and sampling the water. Public outreach is part of we have to hold not just pamphlets, we got to hold meetings. If we do discover, then we have to notify publicly. There is, so it's a whole, and then we update the database. So it's a cyclical thing until it's finished. They didn't give us a timeline on when it is to finish, because they said until it's finished. The goal is 10 years, but as we all know with government, that's likely to stretch out. But as long as we're continuing down that road, you'll probably satisfy the EPA.
My other question, you said something about, when you said you'd asked a question whether or not they would pay, that we could get the grant but not take the loan, and they said no.
Right.
So the question is, do we only need the grant money and not the loan money?
No, we just thought if we don't have to ever repay the money,
Well,
let's
then
just take
the
the
question is,
three.
couldn't you take all of it and then
Yeah.
just pay the other back? I mean, it's interest-free loan, but you can pay it back anytime you want to, couldn't you?
Well, that's true, but we
So you
couldn't.
can take the $200,000, which I don't know why you wouldn't want to use $200,000 zero interest money on, why wouldn't you want to use it?
The 60/40 split has to remain. So if you only take 200,000.
I see. You got no,
It's
but
that
you can put it
ratio
in-
that's the
You
key.
can put it aside and pay the money out of that too, if you wanted to.
I suppose you could do
Zero interest, well, but again, why would you want to lose $200,000 interest-free money?
that. Zero
Zero interest money don't come around many times.
That's
does it?
free money, basically, so.
Okay, but basically, this is not going to hardly scratch the surface of what it's going to cost us to do this.
That is the great fear of all water systems in the United States, correct?
And so all of my residents in West Smithfield, not
No,
District
no.
4 area, because all those are newer houses, but in the old West Smithfield district, all of us are in trouble.
Well, I wouldn't say trouble. I said
Well,
you're
we're not-
likely candidates, and
No.
we'll investigate and find out.
And then the question is, since they were put in, no, never mind. I'm not going to.
I guess spend five.
Because we don't have, we don't know. We'll find out.
Well, you
Maybe,
come down after
maybe
me
they're
and Roger,
fine.
We got houses right there fits qualification, I'm sure.
Yeah. Maybe they're fine. We'll find out.
You want to test somebody, you test my house. 'Cause
I will write that
I'll be your
down.
example.
I will write that down.
I'll be your example.
Okay.
Any other comments from council? Apologies, I think I said, when I introduced this, I believe I said lead, so my apologies. I did know it was lit, when we were talking about this, but my apologies, I don't know if anyone caught that. I believe I said that. Anyway. Any other questions, comments from council?
So are we supposed to vote on it?
Yes.
Okay.
I'd like to make a motion to award a contract for lead service, line inventory services, as Ted has presented to us.
And to adopt the resolution?
And to adopt the resolution. Oops, sorry.
Okay, number 752, right?
I don't have that in this package here, but that's okay.
Is that the resolution?
It's right here on page 240.
Okay.
It's in the book, not in the handouts.
Oh, they're talking about in the handout.
Yeah, it's in the book, not in the handouts.
Okay, yep.
Yep. Second.
Got a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion
I think
carries.
that covered business item 4 also.
Yeah. Well, do you want me to go through business item 4?
We've already approved it, right?
You just approved it, but I didn't. Okay,
I jumped ahead, sorry.
That's fine.
I was right here. Sorry.
that's fine. Just didn't know if the,
Oh.
Yeah, that's my fault.
Well, this will be on the record.
You can, motion to dismiss.
Yeah, I mean,
it's up to
okay.
you, gentlemen. I don't.
What?
You
did
you
one
can
hand
send
to
me
the other.
home, or you can have a presentation and just say, good job, Ted.
Good job, Ted.
Thanks, guys.
All right, awesome. So we just covered those two items. then.
Yeah, you did.
Is that
Yeah,
right?
you did, so.
Yeah, the clerk
We
will
good
have
with
that
that?
on the
Everybody
record.
fine with that? I mean, I just want to make
Yeah,
sure
no, I'm good.
everybody is good with how that went down there. Okay.
Thank you, gentlemen.
All right, thank you, sir, appreciate it. All right, then we'll move to item number 5. Consideration and request for approval to approve a maintenance and operations plan for the social district. Mike, yeah, turn that to you, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. On page 265 through page 270 in your packet, you have a recommendation for a downtown Smithfield Social District Management and Maintenance Plan. This is a plan that was created off a template that I received from several other communities who have already been through this process and have active social districts. the management maintenance plan is a requirement in order for us to file for permit for the social district. The ordinance has already been approved by this council. The social district is a statutory requirement for us to receive the permit. A couple questions came up recently about this. As you can see on page 266, you have the downtown Smithfield Social District map, which will be presented to the ABC board as our social district area, as approved last month. Under security and enforcement on page 268, that is primarily Smithfield's responsibility, and that is basically just that we are responsible for, the police department is responsible for security in that area, just like they currently are. We're also required to provide sanitation maintenance, just like we currently are. We'll have to have some additional trash cans down there where the social district ends to make sure that people are throwing away their plastic cups and disposing of them properly. So there will be likely either some trash cans moved around the downtown to accommodate that, or a couple of additional trash cans added to the downtown to make sure there are places when people leave the district to discharge their glasses. On pages 269 and 270, you have signage. DSDC will be purchasing this signage, and the town will not. In fact, the town's really not purchasing anything here, perhaps additional trash cans if they're needed. But DSDC will be purchasing the signs, but the council has to approve the look of the signs. On page 270, they have to specifically approve that what will be posted in the windows of businesses downtown, allowing either alcohol to come into their business or prohibiting it from coming in. We utilized the red and green to try to help enhance when businesses are saying, no, don't bring your alcohol here, be red, and yes, it's welcome here would be green. So those are would be the signs that would be placed on the windows of the businesses downtown if they want to participate or they don't want to participate. This does list the town and DSDC working in concert together. That specifically is what I just mentioned, the town's responsibilities, security and enforcement, sanitation, and maintenance. DSDC is responsible for the rest of it, purchasing what needs to be purchased. The town will likely assist putting the signs up, making sure that they are where they need to be on the social district, but DSDC will purchase the signs. With that, the ask is to approve this plan so that I can submit it to the state, as well as the signage that's on page 269 and 270, as part of the statute requires.
Any questions from?
I have a few questions. Sure. So if you look on page 267, I think it was on the first page. Oh, on 265, I'll just go through the list of items that I found I just have questions about.
Yep.
It says management. The downtown Smithfield Social District will be jointly managed by the town of Smithfield and the Downtown Smithfield Development Corporation. And my question is, so how is that going to be how is that jointly going to be done? And who in the town of Smithfield is going to be part of that task? I understand downtown development, I understand that part. I don't understand what part the town of Smithfield has in the management of that. Is that a day-to-day thing? Do we have code tags that we walk around with? Or, I don't know, I'm being facetious, but I'm saying, how are we going to do that? How and who is it that does that part of that? If we're saying that we're going to be the town of Smithfield and the Downtown Smithfield Development Corporation, does it?
Our portion of the management is the security and the waste collection.
Okay, so I would appreciate if you would say to be jointly managed by the town of Smithfield, something in nature that involving only these things. Because that's through open window. It says we're managing it when we're only managing this part of it. I don't have a problem managing on that part of it, but it sounds like we're doing more. You know what I'm saying? that's my
However the
preference.
council wants to word it, I guess.
On 268, I mean, it's security enforcement within downtown will be provided by Town of Smithfield, and the sanitation and maintenance, same.
I think it is written in there on 268. It's got safety and enforcement and sanitation.
That doesn't say that's the only thing that they're doing, though. They just happen to say that they are doing that, but it doesn't say that they're not doing other things either. There's nowhere where it said exclusively doing those things. It says they're managing it, and then they say, well, they're managing this and they're managing this, but they could be managing something else because we don't say they're not managing something else. You see my point?
What is there what would there be to manage?
I don't know because it's not defined. That's what I'm saying. We're saying that we're co-managing it, and then it just says we're managing those things, but are we managing something else? So I don't know.
I must agree with Councilman Barber on this because, for example, if there's a provided container, does that mean that we're distributing the containers? There's a lot of things that could be looked at management. And I think the greatest risk here is the liability. And if it's mismanaged, we would be on the hook. And let me go one step further to say that in regards to this is the first social district Smithfield has got so far. If we get one that comes up another area, are we going to manage that one as well? Now, if you just say you're going to provide the trash collection and the police, I think that clearly defines that. That is extremely important.
That's the only thing within our purview. Everything else falls under ABC.
But really, I mean, can we just add that language? Sure. I mean, just add, I mean,
that's
that makes
all-
it even.
That's all I'm saying.
Yeah.
Just be clear.
Because I see the point, right? So can we just update that section there? So will be jointly managed by the Town of Smithfield and Downtown Development Corporation, and then just go further and limit it by what's already in here, I get it, but that way it's right up front and it's pretty clear. Can we make?
So if somebody has a question about something else that's related to it, they wouldn't come to us because we're defined, hold it, read what we say here, we're not involved in that.
Right.
Okay, is that good? Can we go to the next point?
Yes, sir.
All right, my next one was on page 267. 267, I'm a little confused on item number 7 and number 8. Number 7 says, permittees shall not allow a person to enter their licensed establishment in possession of an alcoholic beverage not sold by their establishment. And then the next line says, social district containers may not be carried into a downtown Smithfield establishment unless invited to do so. Well, can you go with one or you can't? See, I think it's kind of confusing because first of all, you said you can't bring it into another establishment, and then they said unless they're invited to do so. So either you can or you can't. You see, I mean, that was confusing to me.
That's what the signage is for there.
No, but that's what it says here. You can't, and then it says you can if you're invited to.
I think the outside beverages, I think what they're trying, what the point was here, you can't bring a beverage from outside an entity. I see what you're saying. You can't bring a beer off the street in your cooler out of your pocket.
I understand that, but that's not what it says here, though.
But I think that's the intent, so maybe that doesn't.
This is the language that the state recommended.
So
this is what they're going to be looking for, this language, when this comes to them.
So Mike, I understand. I read it the same way. I circled it when I read it. I took it as that you were allowed to take your drink out, but you can't go back in anywhere. So if you purchased the beverage and you exited the facility, you're allowed to be in the social district, but you can't return.
Mm-hmm.
So it is very confusing.
I think there's some clarity that could be provided. If that's what you're thinking it's supposed to mean, I understand what you're saying. I don't see it say that, but
Permittee shall not allow a person to enter their licensed establishment in possession of I think it should say, outside alcohol beverage not sold by another establishment within the social district. Wouldn't that
I
wouldn't
understand
sound more
that.
clear?
I would understand that statement.
Yeah, that clarifies it, but is that what the law says?
That's right.
Yeah, the ordinance spells all that out. That's the whole point.
So that's what they're saying
Be able to
there.
move without downtown, without the social district area, with the permitted containers, with legally bought alcohol into participating businesses.
And the only way that they can come from outside them with their social drink is if the owners of that establishment invite them in. That's what it says here.
Are we talking?
By displaying the downtown sticker.
Yes.
Okay, I got that.
I'm not so sure you do.
I got the second one. I understand the second one. It's a sticker on the window. That means the sticker says that you can come in and out with it. Is that what it means?
if you are a permittee, you have an ABC permit.
Right.
To sell alcohol, okay? You can allow your alcohol to leave. Okay, so let's look at Soda Sopa. You can allow your alcohol to leave, and it can walk across the street and go into the Twisted Willow if they say that you can go in.
If they got a sticker on the window, right?
Right.
Okay.
But they can't go down the street and go into the Little Brown Jug because they're another permittee, and they can't allow alcohol to come into their business from another permittee.
Okay,
And that's
see, I
what
did not
this is.
understand that.
I misspoke too.
That's what this is saying.
Okay, so I didn't understand it, but I understand what you're saying. I think if we could clarify that to what you said, because that was perfectly made sense to me.
That's what it says.
Why would that
That's
be the
actually what it
case?
says, but now that
You need to go from one establishment.
Yeah, ABC won't let you
You
do
gotta
it.
finish it before you can go in, sorry. I
That's
missed
an
it.
ABC rule, not the downtown
But I
development.
thought that was the point of the social district.
Well, it's-
is so
you
you
can
can
move
buy
about.
one and drink and walk and drink.
No, because you can go into an establishment that'll let you come in there that doesn't sell alcohol.
Yeah, but think about from a common sense perspective, that a permittee is responsible to know what's right or wrong. If you can walk into a restaurant that is not selling alcohol, they're not trained. So that's correct, okay.
If they got a sticker on the
But you
window,
gotta-
though,
but you wouldn't be
If
allowed
they're
in
gonna
there.
they're not gonna allow it.
if they have a
That's
sticker on
right.
the window,
That's
they're
the
allowed.
purpose,
Trained,
that's
they-
the purpose
yeah.
of the
Yeah,
sticker.
but why can't the bar allow it? I mean, you know.
That's
ABC
the
law.
General
Because
Assembly
selling-
says they
that's
can't.
just the law.
Selling the
Yeah.
lounge.
The ABC
It
law.
has to do with ABC law. It has nothing to do with that.
Yes.
Selling those. And that, okay, that does also bring up a question about training for the people. I'm assuming there'll be some training sessions for people that's running the businesses. And downtown development, people will go through that training first, so we understand what it is. Is that correct? Wonderful, okay. All right, I'm good with that then. Let's go to the next page. It says financing. The cost of establishing and maintaining downtown Smithfield development will be funded by the town of Smithfield and the town Smithfield Development Corporation. So how is this financed? How are we financing it?
We are financing it by providing security and trash collection.
Okay, again, I understand that, okay, and, okay, that's kind of open-ended, but I understand what you're saying, I understand that makes sense, that's what it said, but again, I'll go back to being, I'm black and white, I'm sorry, but, insurance. Town of Smithfield is insured for the maintenance, management, and is this going to increase our insurance because we're adding a downtown development? I mean, adding the district?
No, we've already checked with our insurance provider, we are already covered for a social district, and it will not cause us to increase our rates or change anything we already have.
Wonderful, thank you, sir. And then my last one was under sanitary maintenance. It says, then we talked about it a little bit, it says trash receptacles will be available at all social district exiting points to allow the proper disposal of consumed alcohol and provide social district containers. Now, so the question is, my question was, so that means we have to have trash cans that clearly identify that this is your point, you got to put your trash for social district. So you've got to have one of these on every exit point throughout the district. Every alley that goes out there, everywhere you got an exit point has to have a trash can, right?
Also has to have a sign.
Has to have a sign. My second question, so, but that is correct, right? So will have to have
Where the
trash cans.
where the signs are, that's where the
Okay.
trash cans will.
So we should be able to see every exit has a sign that they can't do. Okay. The next thing, and we have somebody monitoring that along the way?
Yeah,
Correct?
I'm gonna be there 24/7.
I know you are, Mike, until January.
Great job.
You or Heidi, one of the two will be there. The other question was then is, how are you disposing on any, not that they're not gonna take a gulp down before they get done, but are any unused alcohol just thrown in the trash can?
Just throw it in the trash can.
Okay. I didn't know there was a disposable there you pour something into or whatever, just, okay.
They can pour wherever they want to, they just can't take it past that sign.
Okay, and then when we get to downtown development, my questions I'll have on there is gonna be asking, how are we going to ensure that they're, are we gonna do, what type of, anyway, we can talk to them when I get on that, that's different, put my different hat on, but, okay, those are my questions that I had.
Any other questions?
Mayor, I do have a question. My specific question was, and I've mentioned this before, related to the signage, do we have to have one that says you're not, couldn't it just be that we allow it? And not have to, every business that don't want to participate have to have a no?
No.
So you're telling me the
That's your-
church has got to put these stickers on their door?
Yes.
I don't like that.
They're not a business, though.
But we'll have to
It
put them
is a
here in
business,
town
501c3
halls.
business.
Churches are businesses.
We'll have to have it here in town halls. Now, I don't know if the church is open during the hours that,
that right
that we're having, the social district.
They have stickers on the door that says no guns allowed.
Yeah.
So why not add one that says no beer allowed?
Bring your beer and your gun.
All right. I mean, you know what I mean. There's signs posted at Centenary United Methodist. Let me say. All right, it says no guns allowed. Or a gun with a. But to answer your question, I don't know the answer to that question. I mean, I don't know.
It seems to me that if you, the stickers would be okay here versus, it's the same thing with the concealed carry. If there's nothing posted, it's acknowledged that it's, but if there's one that says no, in this case, I would prefer that it says okay versus having to say no, because but anyways, that's my concern.
Yeah, and so then the question is this the sign that you have to have, or is it this sign we chose to use, or could we use a different sign?
Well, we can use a different sign. It has to say not permitted here or
I understand.
permitted here, but.
I understand.
No, this is what DSDC has come up with.
Okay. Okay.
Front Street is used on Saturday. Next to the downtown development, it's used on Saturday.
Well, do I have to have a sign saying no liquor?
Yes, that's council church.
Yeah.
Any other questions?
I think Councilman Barber addressed the ones that I had made. My big concern is the liability and how it's managed, because if we get in a lawsuit, it seems that we would be at risk if we're labeled as the manager or the management. So I believe that's been clarified. However, I still stand opposed to the social district.
Can I ask a question? I know I can, so I'll ask the question. I'll ask that question. The question is, though, my understanding is, correct me if I'm wrong, is that the town of Smithville is the one who is seen as having the social district, not downtown development. They may be managing it, but it's the town of Smithville that submitted the request and is the one that's approved to have it. So the town of Smithville has a social district that we're having the downtown development people manage for us. Is that correct?
The town has to make application for the ABC board. The town has to pass the ordinance to have it. That's what we've done.
And so then to go back to extend that then, so then does that mean the town of Smithville, it's the town of Smithville's social district, not downtown development social district? It's the town of Smithville, and the downtown development is managing that. But it's again, goes back to, I'm going back to Travis's view. That means we have liability, of course, for it, because we're the ones that submitted the request, and we're the ones that have the approval, not downtown development. So it's the town of Smithville that has the liability for it, because if we didn't choose the right person to manage it, that's not up to whoever, that's up to the town of Smithville. Is that correct? There is liability on our part?
It depends on who the petitioner was, and the DSDC, as I've learned, was the petitioner.
DSDC doesn't petition ABC board for the permit.
I'm talking about they petitioned the town to approve this ordinance
that's
amendment.
correct.
So it is their social district, we're just approving.
It's all a matter of points of view, I suppose.
So, Mike, I just had one question. So is this, and hopefully it's an easy one, but on 269, I didn't know if this is a play on words or not, or is this just a misprint? A pint of no return? Is that?
That's play on words.
Is it? So it's supposed to be pint?
Yep.
Of no return? Okay, awesome. Pretty thrifty, yeah. That from
Well,
state?
I did not come up with that, but I thought it was cute.
Yeah, okay. I don't even know if it was supposed to be point or pint, so, all right. That's it for my side, anyway. All right, any other questions? Not, do I have a motion?
I make a motion, we approve the request as stated, and this, don't need to include the signs in that motion, Mike,
Yes.
and the permitted signs that have been given to us by the DSDC. And
With the clarification.
with the modifications to the
Page 265.
wording. Yeah.
Have a motion? Do I have a second?
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
No.
No.
3-3.
3-3. So I will vote in favor of the motion. The motion carries. All right. We will now move on. Do we,
I need a 5-minute break.
anybody need a little break?
We don't have much left, do we?
Let's just go with
We
it.
don't.
Roll to.
All right, that's fine. I think we can get through the next two pretty quickly, I think.
We can.
So the next one was one that was removed from the consent agenda as part of the amended agenda. And I do want to say that before we get started on this one, though I don't technically have to do so, that I guess if this contract is indeed awarded to Starlin and Hines, that, and I was going to say this if it stayed on the consent agenda, I was going to say it at that time, but if this contract is indeed awarded to Starlin and Hines Heating Air, which is the recommendation, I wanted to just mention, even though I don't have to in this particular case, that I am a member of an LLC with Mike Hines, who is part owner of Starlin and Hines Heating and Air. It has nothing to do with Heating and Air, the LLC, but just did want to just make sure that was clear to everybody.
Sure.
Okay. Councilman Scott, do you want him to go through it, or did you have a specific
No,
question?
I can be very brief.
Sure.
First of all, thank you for addressing this equipment.
Yes.
But my concern, Lawrence, and my question is.
Sure.
The proposal says that staff recommends awarding the HVAC at $65,430.
Yes.
But then on the invoice that's submitted, and it doesn't state, in my question, what kind of equipment is this? Is it equal to the others? And it says that if you install if all units are replaced at the same time, the price is decreased by $59,500.
We need to jump on
And I'm on page 193.
Increased by will be.
Increased, not by, but to.
Price will be.
Right, that's
So
what I
we're
said.
saving it.
For clarity, it would be
Save $6,000.
less.
Yeah.
But
Okay.
Where's that again?
page 193.
Okay. There is, on Stallings and Hines, if you look here on the contract proposed, with the description, it tells you that it is the 6 units that they want to replace. At the time, it was $65,430. That was given to me because they thought they would have to replace every individual unit at one time. That's how I got it. But they did say if they were able to replace all 6 units, they would decrease the price to $59,500. So that is, and I did talk to Mike Hines. He did say we can get those 6 units for this particular price. Like I said, at the time at the quote, it was just $65,430 because we did not know if we can get these units at the same time.
Okay, and the last part of the question, Mr. Davis, Heat Transfer Solutions submitted a bid that included all 6 of the units for $57,730. There may be a reason why that we didn't even consider that.
Yeah, there was a reason. Put it this way, they are under new management and they have a lot of young techs there. We've had Sterling and Hines come in and diagnose some things behind them. They're still a young company. They do a good job as far as our service contracts, putting in our filters and things of that nature, but I just rather go with a reputable, more experienced company. And if we do go with them, that'll be $1,769.29 difference from the $59.50.
Yeah, Councilman Scott, I think Lawrence is being generous. Heat Transfer Solutions has not done a very good job for us. Matter of fact, some of the things they've done has been poor.
Well, that's not what
As
we
an
want.
example, during the hurricane, I came in here and I heard an alarm going off in the utility room. I walked in and the door's wide open because they left it open.
To the roof.
Roof hatch.
To the roof hatch.
Is that why you're on the roof today, Lawrence?
Yeah, well, we're
Now
gonna.
he's trying to fix the ACs.
We're trying to fix the
had them
AC. And
here.
also, there were some leak issues that we wanted to address. Planning
We've had them
department.
here multiple times
Yeah.
to work on these air conditioning units, and their work is substandard.
Yeah.
That's why we're asking to.
Well, I
move
just
on.
had to ask a question for
Yep,
clarity on the money,
absolutely.
and
And very fair questions, and go ahead.
so to move business forward, I'd make a motion that we approve the request for the $60,000.
Okay, that was a motion?
Yes.
Hold on
Let's
one
get us,
second.
you want to?
What's the warranty on these things?
There's a 1-year warranty on it and 5-year compressor warranty on those. It's right.
I got it. Okay, I'm sorry.
It's here.
I second it.
Okay.
Right here for them all.
Hold on one second.
Sure.
I got a motion and a second on the floor.
I'm sorry.
Now further discussion.
I just
Okay.
asked what brand they were. I don't think he said.
No, that's fine.
What brand are these from Starling?
He probably don't know.
These here are, let's see here. These here are 2-ton gas pack units each. They are Crane.
They're Crane?
Crane.
Train?
Train or Crane?
Price includes, oh, I'm sorry.
That's the crane to put it up there.
It's not up here. I thought it was Crane. I'm sorry, including.
I know Heat Transfer has York units, which is a pretty good unit. I'm just wondering what.
Right. You know what, honestly, I did not ask for the units, and I will get that information, but either it's a York or a Train unit. We do have Train units here.
Councilman
Mayor, I
Scott?
want to amend my motion. I amend my motion to approve the invoice, the proposal that's submitted on page 193 by Heinz Starling HVAC at it's a 2-ton, a 2.5, a 5, and a 4-ton. It ain't just 2-ton units.
That's right.
Correct.
That's
2.5, 5-ton, 4-ton.
With the recommendation that we do get the reduction in the price by doing it at their schedule at one time.
And I will accept
So I had a second, so are you okay with amending that
okay
motion?
with the second, yes,
Okay, so I got an amended motion now, and you'll second that
Yes,
as
sir.
well?
I'll second the motion.
Okay, all right.
Would that be the total units now? Is that 6 up there?
That'll
now?
be 6 units, yes.
All of them be new?
All of them will be brand new. Yes.
And let me tell you, that was one of the reasons why the planning board meeting was moved to the fire department last week. It was, they were here all day long working this, whatever the company is called, and they said it was working. They left, and then the temperature got up to 80 degrees. I think it was right at 80 degrees in here, and I'm like, Shannon, we cannot conduct a meeting in here.
When do we rebid that contract? I know that's out of order right now, but.
Service contract?
The contract is bid out each year for budget. But all we're under contract with them is to change our filters.
PM maintenance.
Right.
That's
That's
really
right.
all there.
We need to
That's
get a
right.
price on another contract from somebody then, evidently.
Well, we can go anywhere we want to for service. We don't have to go to them.
All right, so I got a motion and a second. All in favor? Any opposed? Okay, motion carries. The next one was item number 7. Councilman Scott, you had requested an update, I believe, on the employee pay study. Is that correct?
Yeah, Mayor, this is a very sensitive topic. You know, we increased some of the staff's pay, and we were waiting on, the last update was that they were trying to get the data for the pay study. I just wanted to see if the manager could give us an update on that.
Yes, I can provide you with an update. I will tell you that this process has been very frustrating for me. I've been working and meeting with this company 2 to 3 times a week to try to get this done. I provided them a deadline of the end of the month to get me what I need in order to bring to you so that you all can see what we have and where we're at and what the recommendations are. I have another meeting scheduled with them tomorrow afternoon, and hopefully we'll get a little bit more information from them as far as placing, where we're at right now is placing minimum and maximum salaries into a spreadsheet based on market. And that's where we're at.
Okay, and the last part of that is to consider that we haven't did a cost of living. If this thing continues on, could we please bring that to the table and go ahead and move forward with something along those lines?
sure we can.
I
do
just don't
whatever.
want it to mess your math up, but I think the employees deserve that.
That's fine.
Okay, thank you. Mayor, that's all I have on that.
All right. Thank you, sir. All right, and we'll move on to council members' comments. Any comments from the council?
Sir, Mayor, or y'all mentioned it, National Night Out tomorrow night, Community College, 5 to 8. Be free food and lots of good activities for the kids and families. So I'll be out there cooking some, giving away some hot dogs, and y'all are all welcome to help me if you're available. And one issue I did notice today, as I saw Lawrence on the roof, I was coming out of the diner, I had lunch there today downtown, and his business was way off today due to the fiber optic relining, or the laying the fiber optics underneath, pulled up manholes like they're running it down. So I got to thinking, I was sitting there eating, and it obviously hurt his business today. And is there a way we can require contractors to work at night in downtown and in business areas? And then, or at least a way where they have blocked off, they were working at the manhole in front of Evans and running it to here in Front Street, but they had the whole right lane from what I could see, probably the courthouse, all the way blocked.
Little brown jug, they had it blocked off.
Was it blocked that far? I mean, I was just looking out. So at least they have 4 people, traffic attendants, the traffic safety people, 4 people standing there in their truck. It's like, move the cones out so we can get some parking in here, and then, as you work your way down, I mean, I don't know. I think the at-night stuff we could fix it, but I don't know if we can do that. So, something, Ted, I don't know, Lawrence, if they're...
We can certainly take a look at it, and I don't know what we can require them to do as far as their work hours go, and what we can't. These fiber companies, we talk to them, we have contacts, they want to work with us, but sometimes they subcontract out and people do stupid stuff.
I understand. I mean, trust me, I do. I just, something to think about.
Yeah, but definitely, I think it's worth looking into.
Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely.
Follow up on it.
Yeah. Anyone else?
Mr. Mayor, I have just a comment. I want to make a comment related to the meeting. All of you guys received an email from me related to this topic, so I wanted to make sure that I submitted this on the record, so it'll be in our record for the meeting. The intent of the email was related to the social districting process that was followed. I don't think there was anything nefarious in what was done. I don't think it was that was anything of that nature, but given the controversy or that it was definitely a heated debate, and when we have these type of events of that nature, that again is not an urgent matter, it's something that could not have waited. I think that it behooves us to give all appearances of making sure that we give everybody the opportunity to participate. And so I would ask that the council consider that next time whenever we get into these types of situations. And so I'm submitting my email that I sent you guys already into the meeting so that the full record would be there, so that somebody couldn't just take out a piece of it and say, you said this, you said that, and put the whole thing in there. Nothing was derogatory in any way. It's just want to make sure that we make a statement that, that this is something we probably should be careful not to be doing, because it gives the impression of something that was not the case, by the way. I don't believe that was the case. I don't believe that was the intent, but it definitely gives a perception for people, and that's not something we should be doing as a town council. So, and that's my comments related to that. I would say I appreciate all the hard work that our town people are doing. I know I still see the people that work. Lawrence's people does an outstanding job. The fire pipe people do outstanding work. I know police people, I'm telling you what, we have some really good town. I mean, I keep going on and on of the town people, and I see people's comments related to the people that work in town, and it is all positive. I very seldom see any. I'm on social media. Some of you are not. I'm on social media, and I tell you, very seldom do we have negative comments related to people that work in the town of Smithfield. And that's something to be said, because normally that's where people want to say their things. But I appreciate all that people do.
Absolutely. Anyone else?
Yeah, I did receive a call last week from a resident, and the sanitation crew forgot to get her trash can. Not intentionally, I think they were just moving and going. She contacted, I think, Town Hall. They connected her with Lawrence. Lawrence got them back over there that day in a timely manner, and she just wanted me to tell you thank you for that. She understood it was just a moving and going, you just forgot to get it, but she was really impressed with how quick Town Hall got in touch. I think she called Town Hall first, where she said, and maybe they had gotten in touch with you. But you sent them right back over, so she just wanted me to publicly thank you for that, and thank your crew for that.
Fantastic job. It's an awesome job. Anyone else?
Our police department has 2 drones are on the way.
All right, all right.
Oh,
So-
by the way, the drone flying day is set for October the 12th, Saturday, October the 12th. We're looking forward to some exciting things on that day.
So it just, if no other comments from the council, so along the lines of what you were saying, I believe that we went out on some routes the day before the storm hit, and actually, the residents they weren't even aware of it, right? And town crews went and retrieved their trash cans wherever they were and dumped them. That is what customer service is all about, right? They didn't even realize it until they were like, oh, wow, my trash has been, that is outstanding. And I just want to say to the entire staff, the police, the fire, Parks and Rec, Utilities Department, your staff as well, on the sanitation crews, just a really fantastic job, preparations. I want to thank our county partners. The chairman of the county commissioners was in contact with the mayors throughout this time. We were meeting with the emergency management teams, and I had several briefings with them. They were keeping us updated on that, and I just can't say enough to thank you for all of the town staff, right? I came in the morning after the storm when we were opening on time, and we had an issue with our power, and all the town staff that was here. And they didn't have lights. They didn't have lights, but they stayed here until we got it back on. And it's just an incredible job. And I hope that you go back and please tell your staffs. I was interviewed by one of the radio stations out of Raleigh, and my comments there as part of it was, and you can go back and listen to it. But just my comments there were just about all the staff, and that you're the professionals and you know what to do, and it's just an outstanding job. So to the staff, I want to say thank you. And then just one other thing, I just wanted to give just a quick update. So when I ran for mayor, I had three things when I ran for mayor this time. I just wanted to kind of give a little bit of an update on that. And my top 3 goals were, my number 1 goal was to increase staffing within the police department. I think we're well on our way with some things that we've done. I've heard some things coming out, so I hope that is progressing, and I believe we have made some strides there. So we are getting there. Number 2 goal was to increase the number of streets that we pay per year. I think we've increased at least the funding for that, and I think we should continue to look at the possibility of including more streets as we continue down. But the third one, my third goal was to attract new business and industry to Smithfield. And I stated that I would continue to work to grow existing and to attract new businesses and industry so that our residents will be able to work in the same town where they live. So I believe that what we did tonight as far as passing the amendment to the B3 district is a start to that. And it's not something that just happened overnight. And there were some comments made tonight that really disturbed me about working and some of the things that were said, that was quoted that some of the developers were saying. And I can tell you as mayor, I hear a whole lot of positives from the development community. And in fact, I've got voicemails right now, right on this phone from the developer of Franklin Towns, right near you, thanking me and how impressed he was with our town staff and the process. So I want to thank you for what you do, and I want to thank you for the changes that did occur and have occurred in our planning department, because I think it's been a benefit for our citizens, and I receive a lot of positives about our staff and what we do. And that doesn't mean we're perfect. I learn and I grow every single day, and I can take constructive criticism, and I don't mind it. So if there's something that we're not doing, pick up the phone and let's talk about it. Let's absolutely talk about it. I heard a lot during this B3 thing, a lot. And there were a lot of things said about me, right? There were things said to the media. There were things said to people. I had one person, developer, to call me and get it straight from my mouth. One. That was it. So I want to thank the staff for everything that you do, but I did want to just provide an update on my 3 top goals, and I think we're making progress in those areas. And I want to thank this council for everything that you're doing to provide, to provide the support and what is needed to move things forward. And I always welcome the input from you guys, and I truly do value each and every one of you and everything that you do for the town of Smithfield. So thank you so much. Mr. Manager, I'll turn it over to you, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'll only add to that. You mentioned the police department. The 2 gentlemen that are sitting right over here, they have worked extremely hard to make sure that we have school resource officers in all the Smithfield schools. They've been able to accomplish that. It has not been an easy task. We all talked about it during the budget process and said, how are you going to do this? Well, with council's help, it's been accomplished, and we'll have much better and more secure schools in Smithfield for it. So I want to make sure that everybody's aware that that has taken place. Thank you. We do have National Night Out tomorrow, so as Councilman Stevens said, so please come and get a hot dog, see what's going on. And then I would mention that the River Rat Regatta was canceled due to the storm, and its rain date is Saturday, August 24th, so not this Saturday, but next Saturday. That's going to depend on how high the river is. Hopefully it'll be down and we'll be able to have that event. Gary has assured me that it will be. Please mark that on your calendar. That's all I have.
Thank you, Mr. Manager. And just one other point, I did want to just make one clarification that I realized I did when we were talking about the B3, and Councilman Scott, you were talking about the communication and so forth. I think you actually stated it, and we discussed it about the need, the actual rezoning to the other district. I think I misquoted one of the sections in our agenda packet. And to that, I apologize to you, sir. But I think you clarified it as far as the rezoning, so just did want to mention that. All right. Again, thanks everybody for coming out this evening. We do have some more business to do. We're not finished yet, so we do need to go into closed session. At this time, I will entertain a motion to go into closed session.
So move, Mr. Mayor.
Pursuant to North Carolina General Statute 143-318.11, Section A6.
So move, Mayor.
I got a motion. Do I have a second?
Yeah.
Motion and a second. All in favor? Aye. We'll go into closed session in about 5 minutes. 5 minutes. 5 minutes.